Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome, to Lawsplaining the Interwebs. I am your host. I'm your off-center host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small, somewhat important, I guess, law firm in central Minnesota. And I'm here for many things tonight to discuss. We've got a whole bunch of stuff that's going on, right? I haven't even seen all of it. Hold on. I'm going to do this kind of on the fly, very professional. But you know, as people kind of filter in, I'm going to look up this stuff that I haven't even had chances to look at all the stuff that's going on. But apparently someone has named moi for deposition. I guess they think they're going to just depose me and I'll just say okay. Like, yeah, all right, yeah, let's do that. I don't think it's going to be that simple, but we'll see, won't we? I guess we'll see. We are going to, let me just preview, guys. I hate plans. Oh, I hate having plans because my plan, what is happening here? Okay, get off there. Goodness gracious. My plan is going to prevent me from talking at length about this upcoming deposition thing that is I don't know, that dropped today, right? So I think that's going to mostly happen tomorrow because I have a plan and my plan is not adjusting for the fluidity of the situation. So I'm rigidly adhering to a plan and it may be detrimental to me, even though over and over I'm being shown that that plan might not be in my best interest. Over and over I'm being given clues and hints and signs that I might be off base on my plan and maybe I should modify things, but I'm not going to because I've got a plan and it's a smart plan and I'm going to stick to it. And we'll see how that goes. So tomorrow is going to be the heavy talk on the request for subpoenas, or the subpoena request and the deposition request. Actually, it's the request to request because they can't actually notice me for deposition or subpoena yet. There's a whole lot to that. And they may not be able to for several reasons. And if they do, they may have wished they didn't. But we'll see. I suppose it all depends on what Senor Chup down in Texas thinks of the fact that the non-moving TCPA party, who has had document production requests in their complaint for over 70 days, waiting until after the TCPA was filed by another party. We'll see what Judge Chup thinks about trying to get additional discovery that you didn't request prior to the TCPA being filed by someone else. We'll see if he thinks that you can somehow use a TCPA-based exception when you haven't filed your own TCPA yet. That's your first hurdle, dummies. You didn't file, Funimation did. So you don't necessarily get to use the exception to the TCPA discovery stay since you don't have a relevant purpose to take my discovery during their TCPA. So until you file that motion, it's going to be weird to argue an exception when I have no relevant information to whether or not, according to Funimation at least, to whether or not Funimation's TCPA is valid or not. You haven't filed one. So we'll have to see. All of the cheerleading and drive-by lawyering on Twitter in the world doesn't make my testimony about questions that you have relevant somehow to Funimation's TCPA. So that'll be one hurdle. Discovery is stayed right now. You only had all of the time, all of it up until now to do this. You only had all of it, and you didn't. And you didn't. And I have a feeling Chup might ask you why you didn't. And why you're waiting till now. But that's up to you guys to figure out. That's not my problem. That's only your first hurdle. And there are many, many more that follow. And again, it's one of those funny things where you might get through the end of the race, hurdle after hurdle, mile after mile of just slogging and running up that money. I know some people think that this is going to be on Vic's bill. What does this have to do with the TCPA? What does this have to do with it? I'm not a party to the case. I'm not an affiant in this case. I'm only a witness because I've been attempted to be brought in against my will to this case. And you're going to try and put those fees on Vic? You could have filed a TCPA on day one. You didn't do it. Didn't do it. I don't know if the judge is going to like the idea that you might be intentionally running up the bill. Wouldn't it be interesting if some of your mouthpieces might have suggested that you would be intentionally running up the bill with the hopes that you would win on TCPA and get those filed? I don't think that's the purpose of a TCPA. I'm not sure how the judge would rule on that. I don't know how much you'd want to pay for the appeal of that. But it may be, back to my analogy, maybe one of those things where you jump in all those hurdles, running those long bounding strides, and then you get to the end, and all that's waiting for you is a giant sign that says, "This was a bad plan, you cuck." That would be funny. But we'll see. First, you have to get through Chup. Then you'll have to get through Chup again. And then we'll see where it goes. Because you can't bring me to Texas. Doesn't work that way. That would be unduly burdensome to me. I have no reason to go meet you in Texas. Plus, you're trying to notice me at my alleged residence. Apparently, I'm going to let you into my alleged home to have my alleged deposition. All right. That'll be fun. That'll be fun. So that means you're going to come here. That sounds expensive. I hope you're actually collecting those payments from Monica and Ron, Casey and Jay Sean, or whatever. Lemoine. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Sorry. I hope you're actually collecting on the invoices, especially when you guys, need to fly 2-3 attorneys up, and you have to, or hire local counsel, one of those things. But you want to do it yourself, don't you? You don't want to hire some random Minnesota lawyer. Like, you don't want to hire someone in my town to depose me, right? I mean, I guess you can. That'd be an option for you. But you'll have to hire someone out here, or you'll have to fly up. And I bet you want to do it yourself. And your clients, I guess, will have to come up too. I'm not so sure I'm going to consent to having my deposition broadcast to your clients. So you might want to find a time that's convenient for them to make the trip. Because I have no reason to consent to a live broadcast, especially from my residence. Right? Right? Because you want to depose me in my house because you put that in there. And if you want to depose me at that address and the judge okays it, we'll have to see. But I can promise you, you won't be broadcasting the interior of my house without my consent. So that'll be interesting too. But now I might broadcast it, but I don't know if you will. That happens on my terms, in my home. In my house? Is it my home? I don't know if it's my home, is it? Is it? Wouldn't that be interesting? I suppose I should note that I have not received any of this documentation. None of it has been served on me or delivered to me by mail. Now, despite having a publicly available mailing address for both my personal stuff and my law firm, despite having a publicly available mailing address, the same one you would find, say, on the attorney registration website, the same one you'd find just about anywhere related to me, my mail goes to a specific address. So you have apparently, you've at least alleged that you've mailed a letter, but you didn't choose my publicly available mailing address. Instead, what you did was you decided to be clever and try and dox me by releasing my address, which you think is my address anyway. I will neither confirm nor deny that that is my address. You'll have to confirm or deny it yourselves. But what you did was you tried to publicly do that. Now, Casey, I want you to think real hard about the discussion you had with the judge during Monica's... Monica, or was it Ron's deposition? I can't remember which one. I'll probably know soon when those transcripts come in. I'll probably know when the transcripts are available. But let me just suggest that the judge might have said, now, you're not talking about releasing the home addresses of non-parties to the suit, right? And I'm pretty sure both you and Ty said no, Your Honor. I don't know. I guess we'll have to check the transcript. But that'll be pretty interesting to explain to Judge Chupp, won't it? Why, just a couple days ago, when you were on the record, standing in front of the judge, saying that no one planned to release the home addresses of non-parties to the suit, and then a few days later, you decide to attempt to publicly release the address of a non-party to the suit. That's going to be interesting to explain to the judge, I think. It might look like you're trying to leverage the power of a subpoena to maliciously cause harm to a non-party that you don't like. It might look like that. And it might go hand in hand with the discovery abuse you've been doing up to this point. I don't know. I'm not a Texas lawyer, but I know that it was, oh man, was it heavily implied by your emails, Casey, and, well, I can't leave out Andrea Perez. Your emails whining about Ty allegedly, and not actually, asking Kiwi Farms to dox a non-party attorney, right? Or a non-party, non-attorney, unrelated to the case. You made a big stink about that in your emails and before the judge. It'll be very interesting when no one on Vic's side did that. Like, Ty didn't actually do what you said he did, and I haven't done what you did, but you guys actually did it after complaining about it. That's gonna, it looks a little malicious. Well, I'm not doing this argument in front of Chupp, so I don't know. I don't know what Ty would say. I know what I would say. And if you don't think, I would have like big giant flashcards printed up at great expense of your statements in the emails and your statements on the record, and I would just plaster them all around the courtroom on like, you know, easels, so the judge could just look at all the times you complained about other people doing what they potentially doing what you actually have attempted to do. That'll be fun. So enjoy that, I guess. When you have to explain that to the judge, who doesn't seem to like nonsense. And then try and convince him to issue a subpoena to me. Apparently. Over a TCPA that's not yours. You're gonna do it! You can do it, kid! I know you can. You can do it. You just gotta keep pedaling into that hill, and you'll get there. And when you do, that could be maybe even funnier. We'll see. We'll see. But I don't know. I don't know. You've got to have a legal basis for this, and I don't think you do right now, and I think you know it. I think you understand that somewhere. It's funny that Twitter law doesn't seem to understand that. They seem to think that this is like the big revelation. They're guys, they are right on top of it. I hope you understand. They are right on top of it. Twitter law is out there. They predicted that a TCPA would be filed before the TCPA deadline for one of the parties. Apparently, despite me saying countless times, despite me countless times talking about the TCPA, despite me mentioning it from the onset, despite Ty coming on the show and saying, you know, a TCPA is their first logical step, despite all of that, Law Twitter figured it out. And they're running around. Well, I can't say they're running around with the torch. They got like the motorized wheelchair or whatever with the torch. I'm not quite sure they're running, but they're trying to not even a motorized wheelchair. I think it's more like the rascal at Walmart that they took and they just kept driving home. That one. They're rolling around in that over this TCPA. A couple weeks ago, I think I said, please somebody file a TCPA so we can get. I don't know if that was on the show or not. But I know in at least some conversations to people, I was like, you know, if they file a TCPA, we could figure out if they're actually going to win at TCPA or if we're going to get to move on with the case. I don't know, but Law Twitter predicted it. Also, hate to burst your bubble, Law Twitter, but we kind of figured that they might try and depose or at least get some document production from me a long time ago. That's just... because they're not very smart, and that's one of the dumbest plays they could make. So going by the law of a dumb opponent will do dumb things when presented with dumb opportunities, it seems like they've taken it. Okay. Again, you're going to have to find the legal basis to convince a judge in Texas to issue a subpoena over a non-Texas resident with no significant ties to Texas and no directed activity at Texas. You're going to have to convince that judge that that non-Texas party should be brought in to answer some questions. And then you're going to have to convince a Minnesota judge to go ahead and extend that subpoena over me as well. You'll have to do that. And I'm not going to let you do it. You'll have to work for it. So, that's up to you. Because I don't think I have any relevant information that's not publicly available. And you'll have to try and convince someone that there's something that you say that I have that you need. And you're going to have to try and convince them of that without actually having anything there. That's the weird part. I know you can't prove what you think I have, and you're just asking the court for it. Because I have what I have, and no one else does. And I'm telling you, you are wasting your time and money trying to get the information out of me. You're wasting your time and money for a couple reasons. First and foremost being I don't have whatever info you think you want. Sorry. But we'll see. We'll see. You know, it's up to the judge ultimately. And if whatever the judge decides to do, I will, of course, ethically comply with the requirements of law. But that law better be correct. Better be correct. All right. That said, we're going to talk a lot about this tomorrow. I know I'm talking a lot about it now, it seems. I'm just kind of giving a little precursor to what's coming tomorrow when I actually go through that document and we talk about just how stupid it is. But we're going to do that tomorrow. Today, in just a moment, I'm going to go through a couple things. First, I have a joke. I have a joke that we'll do. Second, I got some fan mail. It's a love letter. A love letter to me from someone on Twitter. And I want to read that to you. It's very near and dear to my heart. And then third, we're going to go straight through Funimation's TCPA, which that I think is going to take up the bulk of the show. Okay, so that the first two things I don't think are going to take a ton of time. I don't intend for them to. The joke is quick. And then the love letter is not that long. And it's mainly just a little laugh. Little palate cleanse, right? Some amuse-bouche to go ahead and and get us ready for the TCPA, which should carry us through the end of the show. And then tomorrow will be another show. I think tomorrow I might have Doug TeNapel on to help balance me out with that with regards to that thing, and you know, kind of comment with me. We'll see how that works out. But we're gonna go through that stuff with Doug, I think, because I would like to have. I need someone to hold my hand through it, because I'm very afraid and intimidated. I have to let you know, very afraid and intimidated, and they have gotten to me. They've definitely gotten to me, and I mean, Casey, he looks like a imposing guy. I've heard that Jay Sean. I've heard that he's very intimidating as well, and I'm the kind of person who is intimidated by random lawyers thousands of miles away from me. So, all right, let me do there's some super chats that came in. Let me hit those. We'll hit the joke. We'll hit the thing, and we're rolling. Ryan Mercado says, what's Sean trying to do? Is he trying to beat Casey for the title of stupidest lawyer of the century for asking for the GoFundMe info? I don't know what they think they're going to get out of the GoFundMe info. They're so butthurt over the GoFundMe. It's great. By the way, GoFundMe is at $185,000. Thank you all. Thank you all. As these morons protract it out, please allow me to grift you a little bit extra and say that if the grifting fingers tickle you in the right place, right? That's what we got to do. We got to get the sensual grift, and if they tickle the right fancy, what I'm going to ask you to do is, if it's within your means and you are grifted sufficiently to grifted to climax, I would ask for any donation to the GoFundMe that you can make. Of course, they're trying to turn up the heat. They're trying to run the GoFundMe dry. It's obvious that they're trying to do that, but you know, there you go. That's how these things go. So be grifted into considering donating if it's within your means. The same spiel I always give. If it's within your means, please consider donating. If you can't, or if you've already donated, or if you've given your limit, do not ever. There's no need to apologize. There's no need to feel bad about that. There's no need to even second guess it. No need to even second guess it. The outpouring of support has been monumentally higher than what I ever expected. So thank you for that so much. I will be updating the GoFundMe soon because it's been a little while. And I've gotten a couple questions about it. So I want to just throw an update out there. But again, if it's within your means and if it's something you feel compelled to do because you support Vic or because you can't stand the dumb people that he's suing, or because you just support the ideas of due process, consider donating. If you can't donate or don't want to donate, consider sharing. Those shares, guys, this thing has been shared over 9,000 times. Those shares are worth donations, right? Like, I can't express this enough. Just sharing it. If you can't contribute monetarily, sharing it helps in a big way. It really does. So, and it helps with the metrics of the GoFundMe itself. That's what puts things on the trending list and all that stuff. So if you can feel compelled to do that, please do so. I did get an update on the knives, right? We're looking to use the knives as an incentive for the GoFundMe. However, to be on the up and up, I have sent an email to the promotions group at GoFundMe. I'm waiting for a response from them because you're not allowed to do promotions without their express consent. And I don't know if this counts as a promotion, but I'm going to treat it until I get otherwise as counting as a promotion. We're not going to do anything that is below board on this GoFundMe because it's under constant attack. Okay. So that said, we do have the competition for the handcrafted knives. There are 3 of them. They're Klingon style. And if GoFundMe allows me to do it, the idea will be I will give a period of like 48 hours and I will give the 3 knives to the 3 highest donors in that 24-hour or 48-hour period, whatever it is. We'll find a way to track that specifically. And then that will be how we give those out, assuming GoFundMe gives me the okay. So there's that. So stay tuned for that. And again, that you may want to donate to get one of these knives. They're cool. They're cool. Hold on. All right. They're very cool knives. I will show them when they're all finished. And the guy making them is really awesome. He's a great guy. And hopefully maybe I can introduce you guys to him at some point in time. He's really great. I've talked to him several times, and all around seems like a good dude. I mean, I guess I don't technically know him, but he seems like a good dude. Anthony Siebert says, Nick wrecked them. Will the video call Ron a cuck? Oh, well, I don't know. We'll see what happens if they actually get around to deposing me. We'll see what happens. They get to ask any questions. I will be giving out my answers. Truthful, honest answers. Oh, yes. And real quick, last night's video on demand will be coming back. I had to make an edit. I had a boomer moment. The edit does not cut any content. It just merely blurs the screen for about 3 seconds. For some reason, it takes YouTube like days to process that. As soon as that edit is finished processing, the video will be right back up. Now, if I could figure out how to edit video outside of YouTube, and I know all the tools exist for me to do it, I just don't have time to really do it. YouTube has a tool. I've used that. I could do this faster, and maybe I should. I'll look into it, but this one should be about done. I made the edit like 12 hours ago, something like that. Maybe it was 9 hours ago, something, but it was a while back. The edit should be done soon, and then that video will come right back up, and you'll be able to watch it. There's no content edited out, just a blip on the screen that has to be blurred out for a moment. So, sorry, I know a lot of people have been asking questions. I've been waiting to address that till now. There we go. Octorian says, yeah, I'll answer your question, soy boy. First, let me hit these super chats. That'd be the one downside with doing the deposition live streamed, would be I wouldn't be able to do the super chats, like address them all. Maybe it'd be funny. We'll see. I don't know. T. Greg Doucette says, when will I get a chance to be deposed? Please pay attention to me. I tweet so much. You're the subject of my first joke. Don't do this to me. I've got the joke coming. Well, you're not the subject of it. You're an accessory to the subject of the joke. So you wait your turn, T. Greg. Low T. Greg. Intimidator0108 says, hey, Nick called out Mars Girl about her spineless backside after she commented on Shane Holmberg's tweet that you tweeted about earlier. I'd like to think that Five Finger Death Punch's song Over and Under It fits nicely here. Mars Girl. Keep paying for those quarter-hour law consultations. That schizo guy says, Casey, did you call Ron Toye a cuck? Nick, no, I called Ron Soye a cuck. Automata says, sir, a suggestion, invite them to submit a list of questions, and if you find them funny enough, have a mock deposition live stream. They'll mayhap get some answers to those burning questions publicly. We'll get entertained. No, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to invite them. They'll have to work for it. They'll have to work for it. Come on, Minnie says, my first super chat. Hey, thank you. Cayman. Pronounce my name like the Cayman Islands. Cayman Minnie. Cayman Minnie. Always miss your live streams. Been away from YouTube the last few weeks. And come back to see someone's taking you to court. What mess did you get into? A beautiful mess. A beautiful mess, Cayman. May you always be like the Cayman Islands and not like the Virgin Islands. Blaine20 says, I can't decide which is more tortuous for me. Imagining the pain Maronica will go through cringing at each point you've made, or watching someone pulling the nails off of something's fingers one at a time. I'm about 50-50. Freighter J says, could they be going after you and Chelsea with the theory that since you're doing the GoFundMe and Vic dated a woman named Beard, that this is a money-making scam and thereby frivolous? I think they know that Chelsea Beard has no relation to Ty Beard. None at all. So I don't know. And I've never spoken with Chelsea. I've never met Chelsea. Don't think I've ever seen a picture of Chelsea or anything like that. So if they think this is some sort of collusive game, I guess, whatever. That would be a silly, I don't think that's their theory, but it's just wrong enough to be what they're thinking. Dislock says, let's be honest, the best drama would be if they'd tried to have you deposed at the local TJ Maxx. Oh, that's peak. That's peak. Brian Dewig says, tickled to the tune of 100 to the GoFundMe as well. This move deserves them being buried in funds even more than they did before. Hey, thank you. Thank you for that. Patrick Thompson says, hey, Nick, buddy, low-key shill. I'm a software engineer and have been wanting to ask if you'd like me to make your law firm a website that's good for donations and other info. I can share my portfolio if you'd like, free of charge. Pal, email me. I could really probably use a website. And we can talk about it. We can talk about it. Vindy says, Nick, can they force you to reveal your journalistic sources in a deposition, such as the identity of leakers and the content of the leaks? I don't know. Well, they'll have to find out, right? We'll have to find out if they can. I guess if the judge thinks that it's relevant and decides to order it, that might be one of the hurdles they have to overcome. We'll see. Friggin' Harlock says, regarding GoFundMe, it used to be the first result when searching Vic Mignogna GoFundMe. Been checking that way for months now. Now it doesn't appear in results. Using DuckDuckGo, something's up. I don't know. Kikagazumi says, I may have cause to celebrate the end of something that has been going on for 2 years. Was a good top shelf gin that is smooth and a good taste. Man, my favorite gin is Heyman's Old Tom Gin, but I don't know that you can get it in the States. The person who sent it to me sent it from England. It was very, very good. Other than that, man, all the gin I drink is Finnish or Hawaiian or English. I don't know that I've bought a local American gin. So I can't tell you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You can find that Heyman's Old Tom, man. That is good stuff. Maybe you can order it. And it is exceptionally smooth with good taste. It's not that harsh, horrific floral gin. It's a good one. Dustin Fitzfar says, anything you had to blur out on your stream I missed last night? I watch in 144p because I watch on mobile almost exclusively. Yeah, I think most people missed it, which is fine. When it, it'll be blurred and it'll go back up and everything will be what it is. All right, couple more, and then we're off to the races here. Siren Jag says, give me that spicy rant, sir. I want the heat. I will be ready in 2 days to do my best impression of a drag racer at the Hot Rod Thunder Nationals in Wichita. Okay, good luck. Drag racer, not drag dresser or dancer or whatever. Michael Lavalley says, I created a logo for an organization I was a part of. I no longer wish to be affiliated with them. Am I legally justified to revoke permission for them to use the logo I created? I never had any verbal or contractual agreements. That's oh wait, why? That's not the one I wanted to read, but you get a bonus. That's a legal question that's very specific, will be state specific. A general answer is that would tend to be considered work for hire, and they probably have the rights to that logo. But you would need to talk to some a copyright lawyer who's familiar with the laws of your state and how work for hire works, and if it's presumed or if it has to be explicit. If I could tell you the answer, I would, but I can't. I can't. And if I could tell you, the answer would be if we entered into an attorney-client relationship and I researched it, that would be the only way I could answer that question. It's very, very specific. I'm sorry. But yeah, you can talk to a lawyer who's familiar with employment and copyright law in your state or intellectual property, and they should be able to handle that answer for you. Hated 7 DTD says, if you get deposed, please have Drexel as a pseudo lawyer sit in there wearing the cut commander shirt, grinning at Soye. But Soye might look at him with those he might give him the fluff eyes, right? The prep eyes. Okay, let's move over to this. All right. Here's this. Shane, notice of intention to subpoena Nick Rekieta. Thanks at Greg Doucette for the heads up. Okay. All right. So then there they are, and they've got my address unredacted on there, or the address of a house that I own unredacted on there. You know, he said whether or not that's my home address, that they'll have to figure that out themselves, I suppose. But here we go. Imagine, go on a thought exercise with me. Let's get intimate for a second. Imagine you are Shane Holmberg. I know. It's hard to imagine. It's disgusting to imagine. It makes your skin crawl. Makes your blood cold. It makes women around you kind of just walk away in fear and disgust. It makes you crave that sweet leather shoe. It makes you want to tongue the shoe tongues of your friends. It makes you pillage the chairs around you. But imagine for just a moment that you are Shane Holmberg and you have been contacted by Moran, and they've asked you to be the mouthpiece because they've lost the narrative. They had the narrative at first and then they lost it. There's some lawyer in Minnesota and then a couple other YouTubers who got a lot of attention and were able to take and wrestle that narrative away. Wrestle it away from their hands. So you employ the Shane Holmberg, the most trusted source on the internet for information. You call up Shane, you say, Shane, we need you to be the mouthpiece. And Shane says, I'm always willing to be the mouth. And they said, we said mouthpiece, Shane. And he says, yes, I'll take that mantle. I will release your documents. I will authenticate your text messages for you to Kamehakan. I will single-handedly take control of the narrative and I'll get it out there. And then you've done this. You are Shane. You've taken your best shot at taking control. Your best shot. And after a while they said, oh God, what have we done? And then they take you as their information font and they pass that torch to a bald quadricuck lawyer in North Carolina named Greg Doucette. They pass it along. They're like, actually, you have more credibility than Shane. Shane's baby has more credibility than Shane, but we didn't realize that. So at least you're a lawyer. I mean, I know you're a podcast lawyer who had to close his law office, which are some of the criticisms that we levied against that Minnesota lawyer, but at least you're a lawyer, and you tweet so much that we don't know how to say no to you. Would you be the releaser of information? Now remember, you're still Shane. You're still Shane Holmberg in this scenario. And in this scenario, after having your one job, your one important role in all of this, the one thing you were hoping to use to propel your shitty little convention into some sort of stardom by taking a stand against I Stand with Vic, not against Vic. Because you know Vic, you've known him. He doesn't know you, but you've known Vic for so many years. He couldn't pick you out of a crowd. He couldn't tell you who you were if you walked up face to face to him, but you know Vic, and you've looked at a contract for a convention before, and you were hoping to propel your little convention into some sort of stardom, not by being opposed to Vic, but just the people who support him. And you're still Shane, and you were hoping your important role would pan out, and then when it didn't, because you were so ineffective at it, you became an informa cuck, and your job is to sit and watch Greg Doucette deliver the breaking news on behalf of Monica and Ron, while all you do is prep and cheer on their new bull. How embarrassing for you. How embarrassing for you, Shane. You informa cuck. Oh, you're so good at your job. They gave it to someone else, and here you are cheering them along. Oh, God, it's gotta suck. Oh. Woo. All right. Cuck Lightyear in the streets, Shane watching the sheets. There you go. All right. Let's get to this fan mail. We'll do this fan mail, and then we will. This, like I said, this is quick. This is just a little love letter to me. And then we'll hit that Funimation TCPA, and we'll hit it hard. All right, so this is from the Office of Lawyers' Professional Responsibility. Right there. This is addressed to me, Mr. Nicholas Robert Rekieta, at my publicly available mailing address, which is also on the attorney registration system, which is the one address that you can guarantee I will actually receive mail. The address that I publicly receive mail and publicly talk about all the time. That address might be the address you would have wanted to send correspondence to if you had correspondence that you intended to reach me. I'm not aware of any such correspondence that might have come my way. I'm just suggesting that if you wanted correspondence to reach me, you might have sent it to my publicly available at the bottom of every video, on the interwebs when you search for me, my law office registration, all of that right there. It's publicly available. Oh, and also, if you were to try and reach me, you might want to do it using my publicly available email address again, as well. The one that actually gets checked, right? That publicly available email address that I have access to. Not some other email address that I don't have access to. Because if you were to maybe send me an email to an email account that I don't use and don't have access to, I wouldn't get that email. But again, it's not like my email address is in the bottom of every video or publicly available online all over the place. They're not the most publicly accessible things possible that would pretty much guarantee that I would get what you were sending. But I haven't gotten anything yet. I need to be clear on that. I haven't actually gotten anything in regards to the Vic Mignogna case. Dear Mr. Rekieta, enclosed you'll find Christopher Ferguson's recent letter regarding you and our reply, to which we have received no response. We have not opened a file, and our present intention is to take no further action. Spoiler alert, Bryce D. Wang. I believe Bryce D. Wang is the person who also just handled my the appealed case that also had no action. So Bryce Wang, I am sorry. I'm very sorry that you have to deal with this. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. And I'll tell you why it's not my fault when we read this complaint. Receptionist, LPRB, Lawyers Professional Responsibility Board. From Casey Brown. This was, I don't know why this header is here, but here it is. From Christopher Ferguson. I redacted his email address. You're welcome, Chris. And it's to Casey Brown. Subject, external, question about an attorney from Minnesota. To whom it may concern. Unfortunately, Chris, the answer to that is no one. No one is concerned. I'm sorry for you. This was the only email address I could find on your website, so I'm contacting you here. They have a form. They have a link on the website where you can just go ahead and submit a complaint online. You don't even have to handwrite it anymore. How bad are you at operating the internet? If you could forward it to someone who could properly address my concerns, that would be greatly appreciated. Well, if only legal processes worked this way, but they don't. They don't work this way. The email concerns one Nicholas Robert Rekieta, an attorney from your state who goes by the name Rekieta Law on YouTube and on various social media platforms such as Twitter and Facebook. Actually, I go by Nick Rekieta on Facebook, and I have a page on Facebook related to my law office. So please don't misrepresent. We'll get to that in a minute. His address is a P.O. box in Spicer, Minnesota, as I do not believe he had. This is a false statement, a physical brick and mortar address where he practices. First, you have tense disagreement in your sentence. That's a problem. It should be consistently present or past tense. Now it's confusing and vague. I have had a physical brick and mortar address where I practiced. But now I do not have a physical brick and mortar address where I am currently practicing. I use a P.O. box so as not to have, criminals come to my home. If I'm I do criminal defense. So it's kind of a thing to not have criminals come to my home. I tend to go to theirs, or I go to them wherever they are. That's how that works. It's great. It's a nice symbiosis that we have. Since February of 2019, Mr. Rekieta has been engaged in a prolonged campaign of harassment. Nope. I have harassed 0 people. Under any definition of harassment, I have harassed 0 people. All I'm doing is laughing at the internet. There's no harassment. I'm not contacting people. I'm not bothering them like affirmative. They are bothered by things that I do. I am not engaging in bothering them. There's no intent to do it. I just laugh. I laugh at them, and I would laugh at them to the end of time if I could. So that's the first lie. Well, it's not the first lie, but it's a big one. On these social media platforms concerning one Vic Mignogna, a voice actor who is not a client of Rekieta's. You just illuminated the first problem. But whom Mr. Rekieta has become an online advocate for. Yep. Yeah, I'm an online advocate for justice. I'm an online advocate for due process. And I don't think he got it. I don't think he got it at all. This campaign includes frequent video uploads and streams to YouTube. Well, frequent uploads is a that's actually not true. Streams to YouTube is true. Even frequent streams to YouTube may be true. Frequent video uploads, not really. I don't upload that often. I should do more. Where Mr. Rekieta talks about various people online who disagree with him or who he claims are part of a conspiracy called Kick Vic. He called it a conspiracy. I never called Kick Vic a conspiracy. So I guess Kick Vic is now a conspiracy. That's interesting. I guess you should have clarified that I call it a conspiracy. That would have been a lie, but at least it would have been more clear with your intentions. These streams lead his followers to attack and harass said targets. False, false, false. All in his name or in the name of the online community I Stand With Vic. Nope, and I've said it before and I will say it again. Do not harass or otherwise contact or bother or annoy or even converse with anyone involved in this lawsuit. Don't do it. Please, internet, please don't do that. I've said it over and over again. So the fact that some people don't listen to that isn't my fault, and I have no control over it. And the ethics board would agree with that. I have affirmatively stated over and over not to even engage on Twitter, that's lower than the standard. People have the free speech rights to do whatever they want in regards to Twitter or talking to these people. And I'm saying take a step beyond your rights and leave them alone. And yet somehow I'm directing harassment. It doesn't make sense. These victims have included those who have made accusations of sexual harassment against Mr. Mignogna. Look at it's the appeal to emotion. People who have posted contrary information online, and those who disagree with him directly. Nope, actually none of those people have had harassment directed at them by me. Not a single one. Not even you giant vagina. Frequent video streams where he appears to be drinking heavily. Oh, that reminds me. Let's get a little silly for this TCPA. He appears to be drinking heavily. You wish I was drinking heavily. So do I, but I'm not. That's the sad thing. I bet those sloshy lawyers online could drink me under the table. One, they have a higher BMI than I do. And two, they look depressed. Where he appears to be drinking heavily while offering legal advice, false, and analysis, correct, that appears to be dubious at best. Well, that's just like your opinion, man. But I'm not giving legal advice. There is no illusion of an attorney-client relationship with someone on YouTube who is drinking. I'm sorry. Like, just pause for a minute and revel in the lunacy of that claim. Look, this guy is online, drinking, yelling at the internet. He's giving legal advice. Setting up an attorney-client relationship is an expectation mutually held between two parties. It's usually done through an engagement letter or something like that. But there's at least a mutual expectation that you are entering into an attorney-client relationship. Now, there are weird ways where someone could set that expectation unintentionally and have them rely on that. That's a thing that's possible. That's a hard argument to make. But I'm pretty sure you guys out there watching this video don't think that a drinking lawyer is giving you actual legit legal advice. And if you do, may God have mercy on your soul. You gotta have the drunk lawyer giving you advice in his office. That's when you have a drunk lawyer giving you advice. Okay, including lies of omission. Nope, not a chance, you lying coward. And half-truths about how criminal and civil court cases are conducted. Not half-truths, not at all. Appears to have guided or directed a frivolous lawsuit for Mr. Mignogna. Absolutely false. First of all, I did not guide or direct this lawsuit, as I have stated over and over and over and over again. And the silly thing is the other side knows that. I guess I can release this. I'm not the first lawyer that Vic talked to. Neither is Ty. In fact, Vic had hired another attorney. He had hired another attorney prior to hiring Ty. And for some reason, the Kick Vic side hasn't talked about that. But they know about it. They know about it, but they haven't talked about it. Now, I haven't talked about it either because, well, why would I talk about that? It's not really important. But for me, orchestrating the lawsuit and causing the lawsuit to happen and directing it, that's pretty interesting considering Vic hired another attorney prior to talking to me or Ty. So keep running that narrative that I directed it. It's not going to end well for you. All right. Let's see. And secondly, the lawsuit is not frivolous. It's certainly not. Even if he loses the lawsuit, it's not frivolous. The man was defamed. He incurred damages. And court could remedy some of those damages. It's hard to call this lawsuit frivolous. All right. Let's see. Including recommending an attorney who is not skilled in the pertinent case law. Says who? Says who? I know people have this illusion that Ty and Beard Harris, Bullock and Hughes have no idea what they're doing, but they actually do. They're doing what they do. You can disagree with them on the law, but saying they have they're not skilled in the pertinent case laws is just not true. I'm sorry. I don't know how else to say it. Mr. Rekieta also began a GoFundMe campaign for any legal expenses incurred by Mr. Mignogna to the tune of several $100,000. I absolutely did, and I would do it again. Profits from all these actions with an online store. I don't know that my online store is profitable. It's just kind of there. A Patreon page, and ad revenue from YouTube, Google, among others, which all pre-existed the lawsuit, by the way. All of them did. Because I've been doing this for a while. They all pre-existed Vic's issue, and they exist exclusive of Vic's issue as well. So there you go. Attempts to hide from any wrongdoing, that by claiming that since he is not Mr. Mignogna's attorney, he is not ethically bound by the rules of the Minnesota Bar or other authorities in Minnesota. That's not true either, you liar. You lying little coward. This is not true. I am absolutely bound by the ethical rules of the Minnesota Lawyers Professional Responsibility Board, not the bar. Bar Association is different in our state. I'm bound by the rules. The problem that you're missing is I'm not violating the rules, and the rules largely revolve around the attorney-client relationship, not some whiny sandy butthole out on Twitter who's offended that they tried to say something and someone else gave a different opinion and probably called them a cuck. Oh no. That has nothing to do with the ethical rules of Minnesota, Chris. Not a single thing. And I'm absolutely bound by those ethical rules. And the sad thing for you is I'm operating within them. And all of those lawyers hand-jobbing you on Twitter know I am. And they know that if I'm not, they're in big trouble too. So, stop lying. It'll get you farther in life. Let's see. I bring this information to you as I have been the target of a recent campaign of his on Twitter. Who? What campaign? A campaign. Imagine organizing a campaign and not knowing who the target is. I don't get it. It's like, we're going to have a crusade. Where are we Deus Vulting? Istanbul? Nope. Well, where? I don't know. Pick a random Germanic city and we'll just do that one, I guess. Mr. Rekieta has also been accused of, but has not done, doc dropping or revealing personal contact information from those he disagrees with to his followers and subscribers. Haven't done it. Haven't done it. Been accused of. That's actually accurate, but that's not really important, is it? Haven't done it. This is why I'm contacting you through email first. Released personal information like this has been used to encourage real-world encounters and death threats in order to harm, harass, silence, and intimidate perceived enemies. Not by me. Even the cucks that send me complaints, I redact their personal information all the time. So someone else does that. You don't get to impute that to me. As such, I would prefer that my address, phone number, and other personal details remain secret for the time being. Pal, I wasn't going to release them. I haven't released any of them. That said, if there is anything that can be done to prevent real-world harm coming through the direct or indirect actions of Mr. Rekieta, or if he has possibly violated any of the ethics rules in the great state of Minnesota, oh, get your mouth off their balls, you... Oh, gross. Please let me know so I can consider my own options. No matter the answer, thank you for your time and consideration. Caution, this email originated from outside the Minnesota Judicial Branch. Do not click links or open attachments because it might be a Nigerian, hacking scheme. Okay, whoops. Well, his email's on there. I didn't actually see it there. Sorry, Chris. My bad. But at least it's not your personal address. Dear Mr. Ferguson, we received your recent letter about the lawyer named above. We need more information to consider your complaint. Please provide in writing the answers to the following. You allege in your complaint that Mr. Rekieta may be guiding or directing a frivolous lawsuit for Mr. Mignogna. Please identify the jurisdiction, the court file number of the lawsuit that you believe is frivolous. Please explain in as much detail as possible all facts that lead you to believe why the lawsuit is frivolous. Please explain in as much detail as possible all facts that lead you to believe why Mr. Rekieta is responsible for guiding or otherwise directing that lawsuit. And please identify whether a court has made a finding that the lawsuit in question is frivolous. If you have more documents or facts in this matter, please include them with your written response to us within 2 weeks. If you have questions about your complaint, please call and ask for the duty paralegal in our office at that phone number in the metro area, or that's a number outside. If we do not hear from you, we will most likely take no further action, which they take no further action. Yeah, I guess I look, I really did try to redact his address here, but then I didn't realize that they put it on the last page because I frankly don't care that much. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, Chris. Now, no one, please no one take this as some sort of indication that I have any intent to pursue this action. I do not care that Chris sent this email to the Lawyers Professional Responsibility Board. But I want to point something out for you aspiring ethics reporters. For you aspiring ethics reporters out there. Your actual ethics complaint is privileged against defamatory statements. So you make the statements and they're not defamation because they're privileged. Your email to a professional responsibility board person for the intent of disciplining or otherwise removing a lawyer's license or raising some sort of general professional ire against him, that may be per se defamatory because you're trying to accuse someone of wrongdoing within their profession. Okay, so you're saying that I am not fit to practice law because of things I'm doing related to the practice of law. When you send that in an email because you screwed up too bad to find the link where you could actually fill out the form, those are defamatory statements that are likely not protected by privilege because you're not actually in the privileged format. So were there a vindictive lawyer or were this to result in some financial harm, I could theoretically pursue a defamation action against you. And since it's per se, damages would be presumed. I wouldn't have to prove that you actually damaged me until we got to the actual damages portion of the lawsuit. That would be a different story. But that element of the claim would be presumed. I would just have to show falsity. And there are several things in this document that are false. Now, I'm not going to sue you because you didn't do any harm to me and because you're just a dummy on the internet. We don't run around suing random people just for being dummies on the internet, okay? But you should be more cautious because a more vindictive lawyer might actually sue you for that. And you wouldn't be privileged against defamation in just sending an email. So watch it. Watch it. All right. Next we've got James Spoon says, if Drexel was at your deposition, Ron would get him snacks and refreshments. Morty J says, I need that story now. And Tug's silky smooth voice. You'll have to talk to Tug about that. And then Starcraft SF says, I've been scared and coerced to send this. I apparently chose and hired the wrong lawyer with this. You apparently lose too much and don't know your job. I guess. All right. Now on to the main event, right? We're at peak. Just after midnight. This is peak time typically for viewers. Thank you all for joining me. We're going to go through this Funimation's TCPA against Victor Mignogna. We're going to go through it. The TCPA itself is short. The whole thing is 168 pages on the PDF. Many of those pages you've seen. IO9 articles, ANN articles, tweets. Might flash through them. The real focus we're going to have is on the motion itself, on the included affidavits. And then we're going to talk about it. Let me be upfront with you. It's long been speculated that Funimation has probably the best chance at a TCPA. Whatever you think of any of the chances of the TCPA, Funimation has a very good chance relative to the other parties of the TCPA. There's some hard things to show in Funimation stuff, and that'll be a challenge, right? That's why Discovery exists and stuff like that. But the TCPA requires a prima facie showing through motion memorandum and affidavit and other supporting evidence shows a prima facie showing of all of the elements of the alleged torts, okay? This will be Beard, Harris, Bullock, and Hughes' job over the next several days as they get ready to combat this TCPA. And Funimation is in a good position to file a TCPA. Personally, I think they may have been in a better position to file a TCPA right away rather than waiting for depositions. But this is what they did. We're stuck with what we've got. All right? So, here we go. Defendant Funimation Productions LLC's motion to dismiss under the TCPA. Texas legislature enacted the Texas Citizens Participation Act to quote, encourage and safeguard the constitutional rights of persons to speak freely and associate freely. That's Texas Civil Practice and Remedies Code 27.002. Numerous courts have noted that the TCPA is designed to stop retaliatory lawsuits that are designed to squelch free speech, precisely what is occurring in this dispute. I would disagree, but that's their argument. Applying the TCPA, the court should dismiss plaintiff Victor Mignogna's, Vic, lawsuit against defendant Funimation Production LLC because Funimation's February 11th, 2019 tweets about its decision to terminate its working relationship with Vic were clearly an exercise of Funimation's right of free speech and right of association. As explained below, Funimation published the tweets in response to widespread public outcry about allegations that Vic, a well-known voice actor, had engaged in inappropriate conduct with his fans and with his co-workers. Okay, remember this part of the intro. It's very tempting to get sophistic in your introductions or your facts section. A little bit of sophistry at work here. Let's see. Because Funimation's tweets were truthful and non-defamatory, This will be an interesting argument. So again, mental note there. Vic's tort claims against Funimation fail as a matter of law. Further, Funimation cannot be held vicariously liable for any alleged tortious conduct of its co-defendants, Monica Rial, Ron Toye, or Jamie Markey, because they are not Funimation's agents or employees. For these reasons and for the additional reasons set out below, the court should dismiss Vic's claims against Funimation and award Funimation its attorney's fees pursuant to the TCPA. Relevant background. Vic is a well-known voice actor in the anime world. So you see what they're trying to do here. They're trying to immediately establish that Vic is a public figure, and that because he's a public figure, they have heightened scrutiny, and he has to prove actual malice to maintain the defamation case. All right? That's the obvious play here. And that's, again, what they should do. What they should do. As he alleges in his original petition in this matter, Vic is a voice actor who's performed the voices for animated characters for over 22 years, mainly in anime productions. Plaintiff's original petition, paragraph 10. In addition to his voice work, Vic attends as many as 35 to 40 fan conventions per year, where he earns appearance fees from convention producers, as well as fees from signing autographs, taking photographs with fans, and appearing on guest panels. B. Vic performed as the lead character in Dragon Ball Super Broly, which was released by Funimation in the United States on January 2019. And again, these are true, but these are also talking about animated things that have, one, little tie to the voice actor themselves, right? Many fans do not know who the voice actors behind the characters are. They will actually refer to Vic as Broly or as Edward. They would refer to Monica as 15th Bulma. They would refer to Chris Sabat as balding and gross. They would refer to Shane as... Oh, wait, Shane's not a voice actor. Never mind. But it's not a foregone conclusion that just because he has acted in a released thing that he's a public figure. Public figure doctrine, this is one thing that keeps getting left out on Twitter. It's covered later here, but it has to be pervasive fame, not just general fame. And then if you don't have the pervasive fame, and guys, that's a big place to have. Pervasive fame is very different when we're talking about someone like Vic than we're talking about in New York Times versus Sullivan when they're talking about pervasive fame. Okay? Vic is not a household name by any stretch. All right. So if you don't have that general public figure status, you have a limited purpose public figure status, and there's problems with that for Vic too. I'm not saying he's not a public figure. I've never actually said that. I've said it's an argument. And there's a good argument that he's not a public figure. There's a good argument that he is one too. But they have to make it, and they have to overcome it. So here we go. Funimation Production dubs Japanese anime productions into English for distribution within the United States. From 2004 through 2018, Vic provided voice acting services to Funimation for multiple dubbed anime productions, many of which are part of the popular Japanese Dragon Ball series. Funimation cast Vic as the English voice for Broly, the lead character in the fantasy anime martial arts film Dragon Ball Super Broly. Funimation released Dragon Ball Super Broly on January 16th, 2019. Allegations of past misconduct by Vic began to surface online and in relevant media after the release of Dragon Ball Super Broly. On the same day Funimation released Dragon Ball Super Broly, Funimation was tagged on Twitter by a user at Hanleia, Allison Cook, with the question, "Hey, at Funimation, why do you employ a known pedophile?" And a link to allegations of sexual misconduct by Vic at anime conventions. The next day, on January 18th, Funimation learned of additional allegations of sexual misconduct by Vic at anime conventions through negative Twitter posts and from other sources within the anime community. Confirming Vic's own view of himself as a public figure, he responded to the volume of negative publicity with his own Twitter apology on January 20th, 2019. Now, this is interesting. Notice what Funimation does here. Notice what Funimation does. They have included this exhibit. This is the statement that Funimation is choosing to employ. Okay? Funimation chose this. So here we go. This is heartbreaking. Over the last few days, a number of comments and allegations have been voiced on social media. I'd like to share my thoughts. Should I do this in Vic's voice? This is heartbreaking. Over the last few days, I'm not doing it right. I need to hear his voice again. I should read his apology in his voice sometime. A number of comments and allegations have been voiced on... Yeah. Homophobic? No! Some of my dearest friends are members of the LGBTQ community, including several that I brought into my production family on Star Trek Continues. This is a blatantly false statement. I said many years ago that I didn't think a particular character I voiced was gay, contrary to what some fans believe, not because it matters to me at all, but because I was told it was the case. This was the case. I also elected not to autograph Yowie, not because I'm homophobic, but because it's disgusting. That's not what he says. But because I didn't wish to sign material that wasn't canon. Anti-Semitic? I couldn't even grasp where this was coming from until someone pointed me to a moment years ago where I was in a panel and referred to a bunch of noise coming from another room jokingly as a Holocaust. As I said then, it was a metaphor for Armageddon, death, and mass destruction, but not the Holocaust. Could I have chosen a different word? Sure, in retrospect I could have, and of course I'm sorry if that offended anyone. I sincerely apologize to any convention staff member who ever felt I was anything less than kind and grateful to be included in their event. Unknown to most staffers, contractual arrangements made in advance with cons were occasionally not honored when I arrived, and that made me frustrated. That does not excuse making anyone feel badly, and I am deeply sorry. I would also like to sincerely apologize to anyone who ever felt my interaction with them, a hug or a kiss on the cheek or forehead, was crossing a line. Never in a million years would it be my intent to make anyone feel uncomfortable. Rather, it was meant to show gratitude or support. I come from an affectionately expressive family where such displays are commonplace, but I understand that not everyone feels the same way. Hence, I will not be interacting in the same way with fans in the future. Understand this is the climate we live in, and this is how it has to be. To my fans who ask me for hugs, etc., I'm sorry, but please know that I am no less grateful or supportive of you. Finally, any allegations of sexual harassment, sexual assault, or most disturbingly, pedophilia are completely and utterly false. My heart weeps for anyone who endures a violation of this kind, so to be accused of harming others in this way, I have no words. Sincerely, Vic Mignogna. First of all, let me just go ahead and let me state something. You'll see over and over in this document why you never apologize ever. Ever. You don't need to make public statements. You don't need to apologize. They, of course, took this well-intentioned statement from the 20th of January, 2019, right away. Right away, Vic tried to head this off. And this reeks to me, of the common sort of idea that you get a PR firm and the PR firm says, well, you make an apology, you keep your head down, and everything's going to be okay. Wrong, wrong, wrong. We don't live in that world anymore. If you are accused of anything, do not ever apologize. Oh my God, it can't be said enough, because they will take that apology and they will try to fist you with it until you are dead. Okay? If Vic hadn't ever made this statement, things would probably be better for him. I don't think this statement defeats anything, but he really could have just left it at this last portion. Any allegations of harassment, assault, or most disturbingly pedophilia are completely and utterly false. He should have just, if saying anything, that's all he should have said. Period, period, period. However, that mini rant aside, and we're going to have another one of those coming up when we get to another statement that Funimation tries to use against Vic. That mini rant aside, Funimation chose to include a statement where Vic early on immediately addresses the situation and says, this is false, period. Period. Utterly false. Funimation chose that statement. They are asserting the value of this statement, and they'll have to answer for that in court. The court will say, well, sure, he made apologies for some things here, but you've also included that he categorically denies any of the allegations. Any of them. That's what Funimation chose to include. How will the court weigh that? We'll have to see. We'll have to see. In his tweet, Vic appears to acknowledge that his conduct at numerous public conventions, which he downplays as a hug or a kiss on the cheek or forehead, may have caused his fans to become uncomfortable, and he promises not to interact in the same way with fans in the future. This is disingenuous as hell. This is absolutely disgusting that they did this. And I think they're going to get called on this paragraph because Vic doesn't downplay his activity as a hug or a kiss on the cheek or forehead. He distinguishes this activity from allegations of sexual harassment or assault or pedophilia. Those he calls categorically false. They're trying to reconflate it because they know that that statement is problematic for them. Vic has categorically denied the bad behavior and did not downplay this behavior. He distinguished it from the other thing. Wildly different statements going on here. And they are trying to misrepresent this. And again, if you're arguing this in court, they're going to have to answer to why, wait, he's trying to downplay his behavior, but it is distinct from the behavior you're talking about, not a downplay of, but rather separate from. So they'll have to answer to that, I'm guessing. If they were in court against me, they would have to answer that. It'd be in the motion document first, motion response document, and then it would be argued at oral argument. Funimation invested the allegations of misconduct made against Vic, found the allegations to be credible, and terminated its business relationship with Vic on January 28, 2019. Okay. Because of the allegations circulating on social media about Vic, Funimation asked the Human Resources Department at Sony Pictures Entertainment, which owns Funimation, to investigate. Beginning on January 22nd. So here's an interesting play. They have now asserted that Tammy Denbo, the executive director of employee relations, Tammy Denbo, is acting as Funimation's agent. To me, that's very interesting. I don't know if they'll figure out why that's interesting. I think you guys might be able to figure out why that's interesting. Starts with a con and ends with a conspiracy. They have now established an agent, a third-party agent outside of Funimation who had direct contact with other parties. And they haven't included the details of the investigation. Why? Why wouldn't they include the details of the investigation? Why, might I ask, would that be omitted? But they've established an agency through Tammy Denbo. They asked her to come in. They've employed her services in this regard. We'll see on the affidavit of Tammy Denbo what that means. That doesn't mean that Sony, well, it could be that Sony is their agent or Tammy Denbo as their representative is the agent. Doesn't matter. Yet. That's really interesting. You see, here's the problem for Funimation and all of the other people. If Ty can make a prima facie case of the civil conspiracy, and remember that he has to make a prima facie case of the civil conspiracy. He doesn't actually have to prove it. A prima facie case of civil conspiracy. If he can do that, he beats the TCPA outright on all of them. Because the civil conspiracy will prove malice. That's it. That's how it goes. So if he can properly allege a civil conspiracy involving an agent of Funimation talking to someone who they claim to not be their agent, Monica Rial or Ron Toye or Jamie Markey, and if Tammy Denbo is complicit in the conspiracy, Ty can just present a prima facie case of that complicity. That could prove the civil conspiracy. Beginning on January 22nd, 2019, SPE's Executive Director of Employee Relations, Tammy Denbo, investigated allegations made against Vic by his anime co-star defendant Monica Rial by two fans who interacted with Vic at a convention. Okay, so here we go. Investigated allegations made against Vic by his anime co-star defendant Monica Rial. Investigated allegations, I'm guessing we're supposed to say made against Vic by two fans who interacted with Vic at a convention, and by a former Funimation employee. I don't think that this is actually true. I don't think that this person made those allegations. And I think when we get to the affidavit, you'll see why. Based on her interviews of the two fans, Rial, and of Vic himself, among others, notice who they don't include here. Why don't they say that she interviewed the former Funimation employee? It seems like that would be a person to talk to, if you asked me. If you asked me, I would say you definitely want to involve the two fans. You'd want to interview the two fans. You'd want to interview the co-star defendant, and you'd want to interview that former Funimation employee. But it doesn't say that, does it? It says, based on our interviews of the two fans, Rial, and of Vic himself, among others. Denbo concluded that the allegations against Vic were credible, and her conclusion was reported to Funimation. January 29th, Karen Mika, an officer at Funimation, told Vic by telephone that his conduct was unacceptable and that Funimation was letting him go effective immediately. I'm not sure that this is actually true either. I'd be interested to see what Vic's perspective on that phone call was. I would wager that that is not his takeaway. I don't think that they said his conduct was unacceptable. And here's the deal. Why in God's name would you? Why wouldn't you just say you're terminated? Why? Because we can. Sorry. It was nice working with you. Have a good day. I'm not sure that that was said or not. We'll have to see. Maybe they talked to Vic about it at deposition. I don't actually know. Funimation did not make any public statement about its termination of Vic at that time. That's interesting. Allegations of misconduct against Vic became big news in the anime world and led to online harassment and threats between Vic's supporters and detractors. First statement about that. So what? You're a private company and you should just piece the F off. You don't have to offer any comment. They're gonna act like they were compelled to make a statement. They were not compelled to make a statement. Ryan Smith says, the part with them saying he downplayed the kiss and such, do you think Ty should mention that? Ty will mention what Ty is going to mention. I'm telling you, I would make a big deal out of that. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's contrary to the statement that they provided. They chose the statement, right? They could have just said Vic said this. Vic acted in this way. They put the statement there. So now when you go to the judge as the non-moving party and say, look, judge, here's the statement they chose. They're blatantly misrepresenting it. Every one of those straws goes on the camel's back and you just wait for the one that breaks it. Okay, so big news, online harassment and threats between Vic's supporters and detractors. Notice not between Vic. Vic's public mea culpa wasn't a mea culpa. This is misrepresenting it. Did little to quell the public's interest as multiple industry sources began writing articles about his behavior. Again, this is why you do not do this. We're in 2019 now. We're not in 1985. You do not make a public statement about this stuff. Ask all of the actors who have. Only all of them. Ask only every actor who has made a public statement about their allegations how much they helped. Or ask the actors who have sued and see which one did better. Again, something Law Twitter doesn't seem to want to contemplate, right? Oh, filing a lawsuit is the dumbest move ever. He should have hired a PR firm to convince people that he wasn't a rapist. Wait, what? Oh, and by the way, this looks like a PR statement to me. I can't confirm or deny who drafted that statement, if it was Vic or if it was a PR firm. That looks like the statement a PR firm would recommend to me. And how well did it do? Remember, all of Vic's enemies say he should have done this, right? All of Vic's enemies say he should do this. That's how you get a leg up in life, is you just listen to the people who hate you. On January 25th, Polygon.com published an article entitled Dragon Ball Super Broly voice actor responds to sexual harassment homophobia claims, where it recounts that some of the misconduct allegations against Vic go as far back as 2010. Anime News January 30th, Anime News Network, which bills itself as the internet's most trusted anime news source. Let me just go on the record, just in case they need a reasonable person out there. And I know several other people share this sentiment with me. Anime News Network is a trusted news source for shit and nothing else. Propaganda, hit pieces, garbage. The world's most trusted anime news source? No, thank you. No, thank you. Published an article entitled Far From Perfect, fans recount unwanted affection from voice actor Vic Mignogna. In that article, Anime News Network describes several stories of appropriate conduct by Vic at anime conventions. Here they are, authenticating this Anime News Network article. Now, if I remember right, and maybe I don't, but I'm pretty sure that Anime News Network, the most trusted source in anime news, had to go ahead and retract many things in that story for being downright proven false by the subjects of the photos and the stories that they used in conjunction with those photos without the consent of the photographed, who later came out and repudiated the validity of that source. And oh my God, I hope Ty rams that down their throat. A little bit. A little bit. On February 4th, 2019, production company Rooster Teeth contacted Anime News Network to issue the statement that effective today, Vic Mignogna is no longer part of the cast of RWBY, and Rooster Teeth is ending all of its associations with Vic. This will not affect the creative content of RWBY. Thus, Funimation was not the only anime production company to end its relationship with Vic in early 2019. But they didn't say why. And this is to Rooster Teeth's brilliant credit. They never said why. So Anime News Network Funimation doesn't get to rely on Rooster Teeth saying something that they get to, well, we ended it because they ended it because of the harassment. They don't get to do that. This is pointless. As the comments to these and other articles referenced below show, the allegations against Vic caused social media warfare among anime fans. Defendants Monica Rial, Jamie Markey, and Ron Toye had their own social media confrontations with Vic's supporters, not with Vic. The back and forth among anime fans, became so heated that Vic himself issued a tweet on February 8th, 2019, called upon his fans to stop their threatening behavior immediately. Again, they're choosing to include this. It has come to my attention that there have been threats made toward others by fans in support of me. Let me be perfectly clear that I would never condone anything approaching this whatsoever, and I call upon anyone doing it to stop this immediately. First of all, Vic, naughty. You should not have made that statement. You should not have made that statement. You shouldn't have addressed it at all. It's not your fault or responsibility. You're too nice, Vic. You're too nice. That's the most valid criticism I can give you. You did not have any obligation to do this, and now they're using his goodwill against him again. But Vic's effort to admonish his fans had little effect, and the social media warfare continued. Again, Funimation has just entered into evidence that they think is relevant, a positive statement by Vic condemning the bad things. He shouldn't have made the statement. It shouldn't exist at all. But now that it does, they decided to use it, and that's weird. On February 11th, 2019, Funimation published a truthful statement about its decision to terminate its working relationship with Vic. Due to the continued publicity surrounding Vic, this is important, y'all. This is a very important statement by Funimation. They're acknowledging the context. Pay attention here, because they're trying to gloss over this, and the Twitter law people are trying to gloss over this, because this is a problem for Funimation. This is the crux of the argument. But Funimation has just said, including all of the context that we just talked about sexual harassment, Funimation decided to issue a short statement regarding its decision to end its relationship with Vic, which it did on February 11th, 2019. Funimation tweeted as follows. Notice they only include the first tweet, even though it's actually a thread and those tweets happened pretty quickly, minutes apart, I believe. Funimation says, everyone, we wanted to give you an update on the Vic Mignogna situation. Following an investigation, Funimation recast Vic Mignogna and Morose Mononoke in Season 2. Funimation will not be engaging Mignogna in future productions. They invited the context of the statement. In regards to, let me rephrase this into what they actually said. In regards to a bunch of accusations of sexual harassment and inappropriate sexual conduct, we decided to issue a statement that included the words following an investigation. They're going to try and argue that this has nothing to do with sexual harassment in a second. I'm not kidding. That's what they're going to say. But they invited that context in. It's right there in their motion. It's right there. And it's in the affidavits. In response to the continued heated back and forth among anime fans about Vic, Funimation included the following sentence with its tweet about recasting Vic. Notice they don't include this because it was right there. They could have put they could have moved this paragraph to the next page and had both of their follow-up tweets right here. They included the following sentence with its tweet about, but then they'd have to show that all happened right away and not in response to a continued back and forth. Part of our core mission is to celebrate the diversity of the anime community and to share our love for this genre and support its positive impact on all. We do not condone any kind of harassment or threatening behavior being directed at anyone. Again, just reiterating the implication of harassment and threatening behavior coming from Vic. Why wasn't this a separate post? Why post it in line? They don't do this. Funimation does not make threads. They're not Greg Doucette. Funimation makes individual, singular posts all day long. All day. They do not make threads, but they did here. They specifically included this in the thread, and that's why they left it out. It's linked to and not divorceable from that statement. It's linked directly to it. The purpose of this additional tweet was to rewrite history, to encourage civility in the anime community, and to confirm Funimation's position that no one should engage in harassment or threatening behavior. Despite it being, they could just make that tweet, right? Anywhere else, anywhere other than where they made it would have been just fine, but they didn't do that. They chose to make it in line with Vic. I'm not Ty. I'm just telling you, if I were in that courtroom or if I were drafting this motion, I would hammer home the fact that they included that tweet in the thread. So everyone seeing Vic sees harassment and that they've admitted flat out to making that statement in regards to allegations of sexual harassment flooding the community. Funimation nowhere stated or implied in any of its tweets that Vic had engaged in any harassment or intimidation, sexual or otherwise. Look at that bold-ass statement. That is insane. They're going to argue that they're trying to walk the line of arguing that they did not fire Vic for sexual harassment, but will flat out state later on that they found them, or they stated it earlier, that they found the accusations credible. We found accusations of sexual harassment credible. We didn't fire him for sexual harassment. And then we made a tweet not saying he was fired for sexual harassment in regards to the context of all of the sexual harassment claims. This is not as solid of an argument as it looks, but we'll see. For his part, Vic did not deny that his behavior at conventions made others feel uncomfortable, except He did deny any allegations of sexual assault or harassment. So here we go. Vic published a tweet on February 13th where he admitted as much. My desire has always been to show appreciation, warmth, and acceptance to fans of my work. Being part of this community has given both my work and my life so much meaning. If anyone has been made uncomfortable by me, it's not for me to contradict them. He doesn't actually acknowledge it. He just says it's not his job to argue against it. It's impossible for me to discern another's personal boundaries. I regret anything I've said or done out of ignorance that has put anyone outside of their comfort zone. I love my work dearly, as well as the characters I've had the privilege to portray, but most satisfyingly of all has been the opportunity to share that love of this art form with fans all around the world. I would never have met any of you without it. Meeting each of you has so enriched my life, and I'm humbled to have received over 1,000 encouraging messages in the last few weeks. To my colleagues, I've considered you good friends for so many years. We've shared countless wonderful experiences together, and I never meant to do anything to offend or hurt you. Till these last few weeks, I had no idea that any animosity ever existed. I've never had anything but respect for you, and I so deeply regret any words or actions that made any one of you feel otherwise. This is not an admission, by the way. Nowhere does he admit to any of the alleged behavior. In many respects, life is about course correction and growth. So many fans have written me over the years about very personal issues and struggles. I've always done my best to encourage and support them. Truth is that I am just as susceptible to struggles and difficulties as anyone. I've identified areas in which I need growth, and I'm taking this time to recommit to God and seeking the help of a counselor. I'm committed to putting every effort into improving not only for myself, but for everyone I interact with. Each of you deserves nothing less. Finally, please be kind to one another. Very last thing I want is for anyone to be hatefully targeted, especially not on my behalf. Again, guys, don't ever apologize or respond to this. They're using, again, a good-natured tweet. He does not believe he has done anything wrong. In any of these tweets, he is affirming that he doesn't believe that he has done anything wrong. He's not acknowledging wrongdoing. He's not admitting to anything. He's just saying, look, if anyone was ever felt bad after an interaction with me, I'm sorry that that happened. I'm sorry that you felt bad. But they're trying to use it against him. And they always will. They always will. Don't make this statement. It's better not to have a statement. I know it doesn't ever seem like that when your life is being destroyed, but it is. In the tweet, Vic admits that it is impossible for him to discern another's personal boundaries, and he regrets any. That's because it's factually true. You can never discern another person's personal boundaries. It's absolutely impossible to do so. Anyway, they're trying to make that into, he didn't know he was raping people. He concludes, he regrets anything said or done out of ignorance that has put anyone outside of their comfort zone. He concludes that he is just as susceptible to struggles and difficulties as anyone. He has identified areas where he needed growth, and he would be taking his time to recommit to God and seeking the help of a counselor. Vic's February 13th tweet was picked up by several news organizations, including Anime News Network, and media attention related to Vic continued through March and April 2019 with articles on IO9, Polygon.com, Anime News Network, Newsweek, and Variety. None of these, nothing past February 11th matters for Funimation. They're trying to throw in things. They don't matter. The damage was done on February 11th, and they know it. I think actually the damage was done prior to February 11th when agents of Funimation or employees of Funimation responded to Anime News Network and other companies and said some potentially defamatory things in there. But that's me. That's me. They're omitting the fact that many of the contracted voice actors or whatever are listed as sources on those stories. You know, they said they had a source inside Funimation who said this. They're going to try and ignore that as hard as they can. These news articles demonstrate that Vic is a public figure. That's conclusory. And that any statements made about Vic were a matter of public concern. Nope. These are legal questions. This is not a statement that actually functions. They can try and say that Vic is a public figure, but saying Vic is a public figure after February 11th, that's different than prior to February 11th when they made the tweet. Vic sued Funimation, Marquee, Monica Rial, and Ronald Toye in April 2019. Vic filed this lawsuit on April 8th, 2019, where he is attempting to hold Funimation liable for defamation for its February 11th tweets and vicariously liable for the separate social media conduct of co-defendants Marky Rial and Toye. In his suit, Mignogna has made claims for defamation, tortious interference existing in perspective with certain unidentified convention appearance contracts. They're not unidentified, they're right in there for the existing, and the prospective ones are by nature have to be unidentified. Civil conspiracy and vicarious liability. For its part, Funimation denies any liability and has pleaded affirmative defenses to Vic's claims. As relevant to this motion, Funimation's February 11th tweets are not actionable because they are truthful and not defamatory. Are they, though? Further, there is no legal or factual basis for the court to hold Funimation responsible for the actions of Marky Rial or Toye. Funimation does not have any control over what Marky Rial or Toye publish on their personal Twitter accounts or other social media. But do you have a duty to repudiate when they hold themselves out as acting on your behalf? That's the real question. Rial and Marky are not employees or agents of Funimation. This is conclusory. This is a question of law. It has to be determined. So this gets ignored. They do not have actual or apparent authority to speak on behalf of Funimation. That is also a question of law. Mignogna and other voice actors who work for Funimation, including Rial and Marky, are independent contractors. For his part, Toye is the fiance of Monica Rial. Toye is not an employee or agent of Funimation. Again, agency law doesn't work like this. You don't. They're referencing the exhibit. The paragraph 9 of Exhibit A is from someone, an executive at Funimation, who's going to just say they're not agents. But that's a legal conclusion. That's not actually how this works. Argument. TCPA requires the court to dismiss a legal action if Funimation shows, by a preponderance of the evidence, that the action is based on, relates to, or is in response to Funimation's exercise of its rights of free speech or association. When determining whether to dismiss the suit, court considers the pleadings and supporting and opposing affidavits stating the facts on which the liability of defense is based. The statute further instructs that the chapter shall be liberally construed to effectuate its purpose and intent fully. As outlined below, Funimation has established by a preponderance of the evidence that it was exercising its rights of free speech and association when Funimation published its February 11th, 2019 tweets that discuss its termination of Vic, and that it does not condone harassment or threatening behavior being directed at anyone. Because Funimation has shown that Vic's suit is based on, relates to, or is in response to its exercise of these rights, the burden shifts. Burdens don't shift! The burden never shifts! Right? Right? Law Twitter, the burden doesn't shift! There's no burden shifting! Burden then shifts to Vic, who must establish by clear and specific evidence a prima facie case for each essential element of the claim in question. Yes. Yes, they have to establish a prima facie case. Or face dismissal. Because Vic cannot meet this requirement, his claims against Funimation should be dismissed in their entirety and awarded attorney's fees and an appropriate sanction. TCPA applies to Funimation's tweets because the tweets involved a matter of public concern. So here's the first part of their argument. TCPA protects Funimation's exercise of its right to free speech. The exercise of the right to free speech is defined as a communication made in connection with a matter of public concern. A matter of public concern is defined broadly, therefore the legislature expressed its intent that the statute enacted to protect the right of free speech be construed broadly. A matter of public concern includes issues related to health or safety, community well-being, or a public figure. Here, Funimation's February 11th tweets relates to each of these categories. You make the argument. This isn't actually... this is just their persuasive argument, right? This isn't set in stone. I want to point that out. It's possible that they're right. It is possible that they're right, but it isn't set in stone. Because its tweets relate to a public figure, the TCPA applies. In the context of defamation claims, there are two types of public figures: general purpose and limited purpose. General purpose public figures are those who have achieved such pervasive fame or notoriety that they become public figures for all purposes and in all contexts. Vic is absolutely not a general purpose public figure. He's not. Because no one on this jury will have heard of Vic Mignogna. You go down the street and say, do you know who Vic Mignogna is? Almost no one will say yes. You go down the street and say, do you know who Mark Wahlberg is? Lots of people say yes. You know who Jay Leno is? Conan O'Brien, Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, these are public figures that have achieved pervasive notoriety. They're in every single home every single night, right? Vic Mignogna is not there. 100,000 Twitter followers ain't it. Try Taylor Swift, right? How many does Taylor have? Does she even do Twitter, or is she just on Instagram? Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift 13. 83.8 million followers. So again, they're going to try and argue that Vic is a general purpose public figure because he has 100,000 Twitter followers. In a land of 350 million people, and actually 7 billion because Vic's work is technically global enough to include the entire Earth, we have no idea how many of those followers are foreign, and I would suggest many of them are. There's no way to conclude that 100,000 is a representative portion of America's population rather than the Earth's population. It's not that many. It's really not. Okay. In contrast, limited purpose public figures are only public figures for a limited range of issues surrounding a particular public controversy. Because Vic qualifies as both, TCPA applies to Vic's claims against Funimation. Vic is a general purpose public figure. A public figure is a person with general fame or notoriety in the community. Gertz versus Welch. Vic is a public figure because he holds himself out as a person with general fame. See id. In his petition, Vic states that he signs autographs and takes pictures with fans at the multiple anime conventions he attends each year. Vic is a well-known voice actor who has performed in multiple Funimation productions over 20 plus years, including in the Dragon Ball series, where he most recently performed the voice of the lead Broly in Dragon Ball Super Broly. On his IMDb page, Vic is credited with over 300 entries as a live actor, voice actor, writer, producer, and director that spans from 1972 to the present. And yet, again, you can find all sorts of production cast who have over 300 entries on their thing that you've never heard of. You've never heard their name. That doesn't mean anything. He has over 100,000 followers on his verified Twitter account. Multiple news outlets, including IO9, Polygon.com, Anime News Network, Newsweek, and Variety, reported on the allegations against Vic in his subsequent reaction. This doesn't actually say that Vic is a public figure, but it does say or suggest that his issue might be a matter of public concern. That comes later. We'll get to that. Stephen Frost says, I would love to meet Vic. Any way we could have him try to go to Lexington Comic and Toy Convention in Lexington, Kentucky. They have to invite him. He has to have the time. They have to invite him. Scully says, Funimation, due to our defamation and the sheet storm, Vic is a public figure. If the cause of the fame is the drama and not pre-existing, does this matter? Yes. Yes, it matters. Michelle Marie says, if they made this statement that they don't tolerate harassment of any kind but then keep harassers, doesn't that make the statement false? Yes, it does. And believe me, that's going to be a problem. Or, well, I shouldn't say that. I would make that a problem. I would talk about how they keep voice actors like Josh Martin, Monica Rial. They have not publicly announced anything condemning their harassing behavior. Make them eat their words. Make them eat them. They haven't done anything to curb harassment of people. They haven't. Marky saying, I want his head, I want his balls. You can say that's hyperbolic or whatever. You can say that that's not evidence of malice. I mean, I think a jury might disagree with you, but you can say that all day long. That's harassing. That's actually potentially criminal threats. I want his head, I want his balls. Would, depending on where it was said and the context of it, could be criminal. And so that's, they've stated publicly prior to this that they don't condone harassment. And there they are, though, maintaining employment of people who engage in harassing behavior. But anyway, so we'll move on. Footnote, the blue verified badge or check mark next to a username on Twitter lets people know that an account of public interest is authentic. Not true. Not true at all. It just means that an account is authentic. It does not have to do with public interest, especially not when it was granted to Vic. The verification process in Twitter has actually changed. I think now they don't verify anybody according to them. There's no verification process. But a while back, you could get verified as pretty much a nobody if you provided your identifying information. Instead, Twitter must approve an account for verification if it is determined to be an account of public interest. Typically, this includes accounts maintained by users in music, acting, fashion, government, politics, religion, journalism, media, sports, business, and other key interests. Twitter about verified accounts. Emphasis added. Last visited on July 1st, 2019. They need to find when that policy changed because it actually did change. And if I were Ty, again, I would make them fight to prove when Twitter verified Vic's account and what the policy was at the time. Make them earn it. Vic's conduct has also been the subject of much commentary on social media, including on Twitter, where competing hashtag campaigns have occurred. Not because of Vic, though. This evidence established that Vic is a public figure and that any statements made about him, including about alleged misconduct by Vic with coworkers or convention attendees, constitute a matter of public concern. Vic qualifies as a limited purpose public figure. If the court determines that Vic is not a general purpose public figure, I think they won't find that. However, Vic still qualifies as a limited purpose public figure. This one I think is more likely. I don't know if they'll do it, but if they find him a public figure, I think it's limited purpose. To determine whether Vic qualifies as a limited purpose public figure, the Texas Supreme Court employs a three-part test. Controversy at issue must be public, both in the sense that people are discussing it and people other than the immediate participants in the controversy are likely to feel the impact of its resolution. Someone tell me how they're likely to feel the impact. You just say that their voice actor won't be involved in their show. That's not it. That's not it, in my opinion. Two, Vic must have more than a trivial or tangential role in the controversy. That means that he typically must insert himself into the controversy. Vic hasn't inserted himself into the controversy. And three, the alleged defamation must be germane to Vic's participation in the controversy. Is the defamation of Vic germane to his participation? They're going to try and tread a line here that convolutes two things. I would argue against this heavily. Okay, because they're going to try and say Vic participated in the controversy because he was involved in the allegations of sexual harassment. However, the defamation isn't germane to his participation in that controversy. I don't think. Or we'll see. I guess let's see what they say. Vic is a limited purpose public figure under this framework. First, sexual misconduct allegations against Vic are a public controversy. So again, they're going ahead and saying that it's the sexual misconduct allegations, and they won't be able to say similarly that they're not talking about sexual misconduct in their tweet. See Lane versus Ferris. A public controversy is a dispute that in fact has received public attention because its ramifications will be felt by persons who are not direct participants. To determine whether a public controversy indeed existed, quote, the court can see if the press was covering the debate, reporting what people were saying, and uncovering facts and theories to help the public formulate some judgment. I don't think the press has done that, but I think the court would agree that that is probably true. Here, persons who were not direct participants in the controversy were discussing the allegations levied against Vic and a subsequent response, as shown by social media activity and press related to the allegations about Vic. Second, Vic has had more than a trivial or tangential role in the controversy. To determine if Vic's role in the controversy was more than tangential, the court must examine whether he actually sought controversy, had access to the media, and voluntarily engaged in activities that necessarily involved the risk of increased exposure and injury to reputation. Here, Vic was a direct participant in the controversy through his multiple public statements cited here. Again, don't make public statements. Oh my God, don't do it. Thus, quote, by choosing to engage in activities that involved increased public exposure and media scrutiny, Vic played more than a trivial or tangential role in the controversy. C. Muhammad versus Center for Security Policy, finding the plaintiffs were limited purpose public figures in part by inviting press and public attention to regarding the controversy. He didn't actually do this. He didn't invite press or public attention. He responded to public attention that was already going on. There's a difference there. Finally, the alleged defamation is germane to Vic's participation in the controversy, as he directly responded to the allegations and apologized for his behavior. He didn't apologize for the allegations, though. That's different. Because Vic is a public figure for the limited purpose of communications regarding his work in the anime industry, Funimation's tweets clearly qualify as statements about a matter of public concern. I don't think this is 100% true, but they may win on this. They may win on this. Because Funimation's tweets relate to health, safety, and community well-being, the TCPA applies. In addition, the TCPA applies here because Funimation's tweets relate to the community well-being and health and safety issues. Viewed in the larger context of the public uproar surrounding allegations of misconduct by Vic at anime conventions and the social media warfare between Vic's supporters and Vic's accusers, Funimation's tweets relate to the safety and health participants in the anime community and the well-being of that community. Courts regularly recognize that when a statement concerns even an individual's state of safety, the TCPA applies. CEG Backs versus Misco, holding that internet post about child safety and health status concerned health and safety. Well, an internet post about safety and health might concern safety and health. Bilbrey versus Williams, holding defendant statements about plaintiffs' alleged threats to members of the community involved health and safety under TCPA. Again, look at this, though. There is no plaintiff threat to members of the community. There's nothing like that. There's not even an allegation that he threatened the community. Those two cases are not strong support here. TCPA also applies to Funimation's tweets because the tweets involve Funimation's right of association. Under the TCPA, the court must dismiss a legal action against the moving party if the action is based on, relates to, or is in response to the party's exercise of the right of association. McFarland versus Lavelle Brands LLC. TCPA designs the, quote, exercise of the right of association as a, quote, communication between individuals who join together to collectively express, promote, pursue, or defend common interests. Courts have broadly read the TCPA's language about the, quote, communication between individuals who join together to collectively express, promote, pursue, or defend common interests. Finding right of association in case involving malfeasance among competing factions of fraternal order. There you go. That's weird. Here, Funimation was exercising its right of association with the anime community when it tweeted about the situation with Vic, including that part of Funimation's core mission is to celebrate the diversity of the anime community and to share our love for the genre and support its positive impact on all. We do not condone any kind of harassment or threatening behavior being directed at anyone. For that reason, TCPA applies to Vic's lawsuit against Funimation. They better hope it doesn't. Because if they find, in my opinion, if they find that Funimation had a right of association, that Funimation was associating with people that it asserts are not its actors or agents or employees, and therefore they have engaged in civil conspiracy, if the court disagrees with their privilege here, Vic cannot satisfy his burden under 27.005C to provide clear and specific evidence of a prima facie case for each essential element of his claims against Funimation. Because Funimation has carried its burden by a preponderance of evidence to show that TCPA applies, and I think largely they have. Let me be clear. I think Funimation meets its burden to say that the TCPA applies. It's defamation. Of course the TCPA applies. It's regarding the exercise of your First Amendment right to speak. The TCPA is definitely applying here. I don't think their arguments are as good as they're saying, but it definitely applies. I don't think that's in question. Vic must establish, quote, by clear and specific evidence, a prima facie case for each essential element of the claim in question. Clear and specific evidence of each essential element of a claim is more than mere notice pleading in R.E. Lipsky. Instead, Vic must provide enough detail to show the factual basis for its claim. Conclusory allegations do not pass muster under the TCPA, holding that business disparagement claims should have been dismissed under TCPA because conclusory allegations of lost profits, reputation, and goodwill was insufficient on required element of special damages. In deciding this motion, the court must consider the pleadings and supporting and opposing affidavits stating the facts on which liability or defense is based. Texas Civil Practice and Remedies Code 27.006, Deaver versus Desai. Vic cannot show clear and specific evidence for his defamation claim against Funimation. Chat from Michelle Marie says, also forgot to ask, they admit to Vic for being a part of Dragon Ball Super Broly, but removed his name from casting credits and all his credits and also his commentary from the DVD. Another contradiction, perhaps? Oh, if you don't think that's getting crammed down Funimation's stupid face, that they... here's the interesting thing, guys. You can show subsequent acts to show actual malice. Now, again, does their removal of Vic's name from the publications show legal malice? No, not as a matter of law. However, that is evidence, circumstantial evidence, which no matter what the Twitter lawyers like to pretend, circumstantial evidence subsequent to the act is admissible as evidence of malice. The words of a party are admissible to indicate the state of mind if it's probative. So, you tell me, as a jury pool, for example, is it reasonable to assume that removing Vic's name from the publication or productions that he participated in, is removing Vic's name from those productions evidence that they might be willing to lie or act with reckless disregard of the truth when making their statements? Of course it is. Of course it is. Is it on its own proof of the fact? No. Does it reach preponderance of the evidence, or does it reach a higher standard? Maybe, maybe not on its own. But if that's the only thing you got, that might not be enough. However, there's more. But does it go ahead and point towards actual malice by being circumstantial evidence of colloquial malice? Yes. Does the court accept that circumstantial evidence? Yes, it does. I'm sorry, it's in the case law in Texas. Okay. To prove defamation, Vic must prove that A, the Funimation published a false statement of fact, B, the statement defamed the plaintiff, and C, Funimation acted with actual malice if the plaintiff is a public figure or a public official, or negligently if the plaintiff is a private individual, and D, the statement proximately caused damages. Because Vic is a public figure, he must show that Funimation acted with actual malice. Vic cannot meet his burden to show clear and specific evidence for his tortious interference with existing contract claim against Funimation. To prevail on his TI claim with an existing contract, Vic must prove that 1, a contract exists that is subject to interference, 2, Funimation committed a willful and intentional act of interference with the contract, 3, the willful and intentional acts was approximate cause of injury, and 4, actual damages or loss has occurred. Because Vic cannot meet his burden to show each of these elements, his tortious interference with existing contract should be dismissed. That's interesting. We'll have to see on that one. Vic cannot show clear and specific elements for his tortious interference with prospective business relations. Texas law protects prospective contracts and business relations from TI. To prevail on a claim for TI with prospective relations, Vic must establish 1, there was a reasonable probability that Vic would have entered into a business relationship with a third party. Well, I think there's plenty of reasonable probability that he would do that. 2, Funimation either acted with a conscious desire to prevent the relationship from occurring or knew that the interference was certain or substantially certain to occur as a result of the conduct. Making a statement that someone engaged in sexual harassment in the anime community should be enough, especially because conventions were dropping him based on those allegations, right? 3, Funimation's conduct was independently tortious or unlawful. A defamatory statement, even made amidst a sea of defamatory statements, is still independently tortious and unlawful. 4, the interference proximately caused Vic's injury. It's hard to argue that there are more important allegations than the ones from Markey, Rial, and Funimation. Soye, because they're so voluminous, and because he has so often explicitly and overtly engaged in tortious interference, with Kamea-con and stuff like that. But yeah. Oh, go away. And then finally, Vic suffered actual damage or loss as a result. Accusing him of sexual harassment or assault might be per se defamatory. Kind of looks per se defamatory, and he won't have to prove the actual damages aspect of it. But even if he does, I'm pretty sure that him being fired from Funimation and then making a statement about it, whereas most people who are fired go without a statement, might be damaging. Because Vic cannot meet his burden to show each of these elements, his TI with prospective contracts should be dismissed. Do they actually lay out how he can't meet them? No, they don't. That's dumb. That was a short-sightedness. They should have gone ahead and addressed each of the elements of each of these things. Why specifically he can't do it. Vic cannot meet his burden to show clear and specific evidence for his civil conspiracy claim against Funimation. Civil conspiracy is a combination of two or more persons to accomplish an unlawful purpose or to accomplish a lawful purpose by unlawful means. The essential elements are two or more persons, an object to be accomplished, meeting of minds on the object or course of action, one or more unlawful overt acts, and damages as approximate result. Of course, quote, there is no independent liability for a civil conspiracy. Moldovan versus Polito. Therefore, a conspiracy claim fails as a matter of law if the underlying claim has failed. That's Sholkoff versus Pledger. Observing that the jury's findings on conspiracy are relevant only if we find an appellant's favor on one of the other tort theories pleaded. Right. Civil conspiracy is not an independent tort. You have to prove the underlying tort. And holding that because appellee failed to establish any other substantive tort, there's no independent liability. As discussed above, because each of Vic's claims fails, none of these claims can provide a basis for civil conspiracy. Additionally, Vic's conspiracy claim fails because Vic cannot provide clear and specific evidence that Funimation had a meeting of the minds with any of its co-defendants. Maybe, except for Tammy Denbo acting as their agent. Sorry, I wanted to check something there. All right. Where did that go? Here we go. Yeah. Vic cannot meet his burden to show clear and specific evidence for his vicarious liability claim against Funimation. Defendants Jamie Markey, Monica Rial, and Ronald Toye are not Funimation's employees or agents. Instead, these voice actors like Vic are independent contractors. Distinction is significant because, as a general rule, an employer is insulated from liability for the tortious acts of its independent contractors. That's quoting Painter versus Amerimex Drilling. To establish any basis for holding Funimation vicariously liable, Vic must show that at the time of the co-defendant's conduct, they were, one, employees or agents of Funimation, and they were acting in the course and scope of their Funimation relationship. The evidentiary record shows that Markey, Rial, and Toye were not employees or agents of Funimation according to their affidavit. According to Funimation's affidavit. So we'll see. The test to determine whether a worker is an employee rather than an independent contractor is whether the employer has the right to control the progress, details, and methods of operation of the work. Limestone Products Distribution Inc. versus McNamara. Here, Funimation had an independent contractor relationship with Rial and Markey and no relationship with Rial's fiancée Toye. Further, Funimation had no right to control any of its co-defendants' alleged conduct, much less their social media activities related to Vic. Accordingly, there is no basis for the court to hold Funimation vicariously liable for their conduct. Shuru says, Vic is being nicer to former friends trying to kill him than I have been to anyone. In response, these monsters have decided to try even harder. Seriously, Vic being this nice is only making me more angry on his behalf. Yep. In any event, each of Funimation's co-defendants was acting outside the course and scope of his or her Funimation relationship. Course and scope element arises only if the tortious act falls within the scope of employee's general authority in furtherance of the employer's business and for the accomplishment of the object for which the employee was hired. It's interesting because I'm pretty sure Monica has been involved in casting before, and her statements about Vic and her complaints about Vic might actually implicate her role as a casting director. And the act, quote, must be of the same general nature as the conduct authorized and incidental to the conduct authorized. Defendants Markey and Rial are voice actors with whom Funimation contracts from time to time to dub anime productions into English. That's cute. You guys give voice actors more roles, and you know it. Funimation has no control over Markey or Rial's social media accounts. Thus, to the extent these co-defendants deviated from the performance of their duties for their own purposes, Funimation is not responsible for what occurs during that deviation. Thus, Funimation is not vicariously liable for any any of the alleged conduct by the co-defendants. We'll see. We'll see, because they made statements. Markey and Rial made statements about their husbands and them having influence over investigations and being executives at Funimation. So now they may claim that those statements were made in jest, but there's plenty of evidence out there that those statements were relied upon by reasonable people to conclude that they were in fact acting on behalf of Funimation. So they're going to have to argue against that, I'm guessing. Request for attorney's fees, Texas Supreme. The Texas Supreme! That sounds like a burrito, you idiot. Has determined that upon dismissal under the TCPA, I shouldn't say that about John Volney. He seems like a nice guy, but that's just a funny typo. An award of attorney's fees to the successful movement is mandatory. C. Sullivan versus Abraham. Holding a TCPA requires reasonable attorney fees be awarded to successful movement, and that the term, as justice and equity may require, applies only to award of other expenses. Further, the court must award sanctions, and in this instance in particular, such deterrence sanction is warranted. They didn't really argue the sanctions very well. They're just saying that they're warranted. So that's interesting. They should have had a section arguing for the sanction. Filing of this motion suspends all discovery in this matter until the court has ruled on this motion to dismiss. Court should grant Funimation's motion to dismiss in its entirety and award Funimation its attorney's fees and sanctions in bringing this motion. Now, interestingly, the document production requests they've been in possession of those for somewhere near 50 or 60 days, something like that. They may still have to produce this because the court might want to know why right before their discovery production deadline, they went ahead and filed this TCPA. And the court may just be curious about that. So we'll see. Conclusion, court should grant Funimation's motion to dismiss in its entirety and award Funimation's attorney's fees and sanctions in bringing the motion. Served upon all of the parties. Exhibit A. So let's go with Exhibit A, affidavit of Karen Mika, State of California, County of Los Angeles. Los Angeles. Before me, the undersigned notary public personally appeared Karen Mika, known to me to be the person whose name is subscribed hereto, and after being duly sworn, stated the following. All right, so this is Karen Mika's sworn affidavit. My name is Karen Mika. I am over 18 years of age. Am of sound mind and am fully competent to make this affidavit, and the facts stated here are within my personal knowledge and are true and correct. I am Vice President of Operations at Funimation Productions, LLC. I have worked for Funimation since March 2016. As VP of Operations, I am familiar with Funimation's business practices and its business relationships with its employees and independent contractors, including with the voice actors who work for Funimation. Funimation is a Flower Mound-based entertainment company that specializes in the dubbing and distribution of foreign content, mostly anime. One of the most popular properties distributed by Funimation is the Dragon Ball action-adventure franchise from Japan. Funimation hires voice actors who are independent contractors to dub the Japanese productions into English. Funimation is a subsidiary of Sony Pictures Entertainment. Sony Pictures Entertainment provides human resources related and legal support services to Funimation from time to time. Vic Mignogna has provided voice acting services to Funimation since 2004. Over that time, Mr. Mignogna has voice acted in more than 10 productions distributed by Funimation, including in features from the Dragon Ball franchise. In 2018, Funimation cast Mr. Mignogna as the English voice for Broly, lead character in the fantasy anime martial arts film Dragon Ball Super Broly. Funimation released Dragon Ball Super Broly on January 16, 2019. Nova Zero says, I wonder if Cuck Factory A&N has referred to any of the defendants as executives. That would be embarrassing. Oh, that would be embarrassing. On the same day that Funimation released Dragon Ball Super Broly, Funimation was tagged on Twitter by user Han Leia with the question, hey Funimation, why do you employ a known pedophile? And a link to allegations of sexual misconduct by Mr. Mignogna at anime conventions. The next day, on January 18th, Funimation learned of additional allegations of sexual misconduct by Mr. Mignogna at anime conventions through negative Twitter posts and from other sources within the anime community. Because of the allegations circling around Mr. Mignogna, I directed Funimation's Trina Simon, Funimation's HR manager, to contact Sony Pictures Entertainment to request that they investigate the allegations. Ms. Simon contacted Zach Hall, ED of Human Resources for Sony Pictures Entertainment, to request the investigation. The investigation of Mr. Mignogna was handled by Tammy Denbo at Sony Pictures Entertainment. On or about January 29th, Tammy Denbo reported to me and Trina Simon that Mr. Denbo had found that certain allegations of inappropriate conduct made against Mr. Mignogna were credible. What allegations? Which ones? What factual statement exists in there? Based on Ms. Denbo's investigation, I concluded that Funimation should terminate its relationship with Vic Mignogna. On January 29th, 2019, I contacted Mr. Mignogna by telephone along with Trina Simon and Zach Hall. On the call, I informed Mr. Mignogna that his conduct was unacceptable to Funimation and that Funimation was terminating its contract with him immediately. Funimation did not make any public statement about its termination of Mr. Mignogna at that time. Funimation is not responsible for any tweets or other social media publications or commentary by co-defendants Monica Rial, Jamie Markey, or Ronald Toye. This is a conclusory statement that this affidavit cannot make. That's a legal determination, not a affiant determination. Funimation does not have any control over what Markey, Rial, or Toye publish on their personal Twitter accounts. I bet that's not true. I bet that's not true at all. I wonder if any of their contracts have any sort of non-disclosure about upcoming projects in them. For example, Funimation does not, or Toye publish on their personal Twitter accounts or in other social media. Rial and Markey are not employees or agents of Funimation, and they do not have actual or apparent authority to speak on behalf of Funimation. This is all conclusory. Mr. Mignogna and the other voice actors who work for Funimation, including Rial and Markey, are independent contractors. Funimation does not hold any of these voice actors out as its employee or agent. For his part, Toye is the fiancé of Monica Rial. Toye is not an employee or agent of Funimation, has no relationship whatsoever with Funimation. Again, this agency establishment is a question of law, and they can't just write it off with an affidavit from the interested party. So that's that one. Exhibit B, affidavit of Tammy Denbo, State of Iowa, County of Polk. Someone says every VA has to sign NDAs. Wouldn't that be interesting? Before me, the undersigned notary public, personally appeared Tammy Denbo, known to me to be the person, blah, blah, blah. My name is Tammy Denbo. I'm over 18 years of age, I'm of sound mind, and am fully competent to make this affidavit, and the facts stated here are within my personal knowledge and are true and correct. All right, we're going to get some details. I hope you guys are ready for details of that investigation, because this is the person who did it. So let's see what they say. I'm executive director of ER for Sony Pictures Entertainment, employee relations, sorry. I've been in this role since March 2014. As executive director, I am the central point of contact for employee relations concerns, including conducting internal investigations into employment and workplace related matter. I perform scores of internal investigations for Sony Pictures Entertainment and its subsidiaries on an annual basis. As set out below, I investigated certain allegations of inappropriate conduct made against voice actor Victor Mignogna. Well, surely she's going to say what those are. When my investigation began, notice that, again, listen to the weasel language here. When my investigation began, I was notified. Sony Pictures Entertainment subsidiary Funimation Productions LLC had just released an anime feature in which Mr. Mignogna provided the voice for one of the lead characters. There were allegations on social media that Mr. Mignogna had engaged in inappropriate conduct with female fans at anime conventions. I don't know. Let's see. Okay. Again, I got to stop. I got to stop injecting my opinion at every line here. On January 22nd, Sony Pictures Entertainment's Human Resources Department asked me to investigate certain allegations made against Mr. Mignogna. Specifically, I was given information by Funimation about allegations from two female fans of inappropriate conduct by Mr. Mignogna that occurred at an anime convention. Here's my question. Who gave her or Funimation that information? What did it say in the affidavit? Hold on. I just want to get to this real quick. I want to get back to where they said this in the affidavit. That was interesting to me. Let's see. It doesn't say, does it? Doesn't say how that information came to Tammy Denbo. Did the two fans come forward? Or were they brought into it? I don't actually know the answer to this. And it's not stated here. Sorry. The Weasley language. Again, I'd be focusing on this. Why don't you just say who told you about this stuff? If the fans brought it up, then the fans brought it up. But here's a real question. Why is Sony investigating? Why is Sony or Funimation investigating activity that happened at conventions that are not related to Funimation? Right? Funimation, remember, Funimation does not exercise control over its independent contractors. Okay? They've said that. Here they are admitting to exercising control over the activities away from Funimation of its independent contractor, according to them. Another thing I would hammer on. Are they agents or employees? I don't know. If they act a certain way away from Funimation, away from production, at a convention that is independently and privately owned, how are you not controlling their activity? I gotta know this. I gotta know this. Let's see. Here we go. So anyway, I was given, again, every to be verb that you see in a statement is passive. Passive verbs, soft verbs. I was given information from two female fans. I was also alerted by Funimation that another of its voice actors, Monica Rial, wanted to share information about her personal experiences with Mr. Mignogna. Okay. I conducted, and she actually leaves something out here, I think. I conducted telephone interviews of two potential witnesses on January 22nd, 2019. Who are they? Who are those witnesses? I then interviewed Monica Rial via telephone on January 23rd, 2019, about inappropriate conduct that she alleged was directed at her by Mr. Mignogna. On January 24th, 2019, I interviewed the two female fans who alleged that Mr. Mignogna engaged in inappropriate conduct at an anime convention. So, during my investigation, I also learned that this is interesting. I also learned that a former Funimation employee had also complained about Mr. Mignogna's inappropriate conduct while she was employed at Funimation. I wonder if this statement is true. Hold on. Let me see if I have a way to verify if that statement is true. Because it's almost like I don't know. Let's see if we might be able to contradict that in any sort of way here. Hold on. I think I'll have this pretty quickly. I don't want to show all of this right now. I don't think that's appropriate. But there is something really interesting. Bear with me. Sorry, I wasn't expecting to bring this up. Okay. That's not what we want. Oh my goodness. I wonder if this is searchable. Here we go. Where is it? Oh my goodness, this is the worst. I'm sorry, this is of course the worst thing ever, right? There's a whole bunch of juicy stuff in here. Oh, come on. Where is this? I know I am 100% professional here. You guys don't understand. There's so much of so much stuff in here. And I'm trying to find the specific thing. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. This is let's snip this out so we're not showing the other stuff. This is, I think, relevant here. Okay, sorry about that. I apologize. Doing this on the fly. During my investigation, I also learned that a former Funimation employee had also complained about Mr. Mignogna's inappropriate conduct while she was employed at Funimation. Now, this is interesting, right? Let's see what it says. Sorry, Tammy. I remembered one thing. This is January 23rd. My friend who worked at Funimation when she was forcibly kissed on site reported it to her supervisors, but she wanted assurance that she would remain anonymous. They said they couldn't promise her report would remain anonymous, and that's why she's reluctant to say anything now. She no longer works at Funimation. Let's see. Had complained about Mr. Mignogna's inappropriate conduct while she was employed at Funimation. How do you verify that? You notice who she doesn't interview, right? Does she interview that person? I don't see where she interviews that person. Finally, I interviewed Mr. Mignogna by telephone on January 25th, 2019, where I asked him questions about the issues involving Monica Rial, 2 female fans, and the former Funimation employee. Now, let's review what I've talked about, right? I've told you there are 3 stories. What have they said this entire time? Hundreds of stories were investigated. So many stories. Women falling out of the sky. Women just piling in to be investigated. How many? How many investigations? How many stories? You lying sacks of trash? How many stories have you you called me a liar. You said I'm the liar. Here is the investigator under oath, you lying pieces of trash, telling you exactly how many stories there are. 3. 3, and you knew it. And you know it. And 2 of them came from Monica. Right? Monica? 3 stories. It's right there. It's right there. You've said dozens of women. You've said hundreds of women. There are 3 stories involving 4 women. And let's review, shall we? Let's review. Jelly Bean. Jelly Bean. Do I have to prove that? You guys need me to prove that? Jelly Bean. I've said it's a consensual kiss. Because I'm pretty sure that was a consensual kiss. And interestingly, Monica Rial says it was a non-consensual kiss. It was a forcible kiss. according to Monica Rial, did Tammy Denbo investigate it? Did she ask the party allegedly kissed? It's not in here. Not in here at all. And then the other involved 2 female fans at a convention away from Funimation. That's consistent. Absolutely consistent with what I've said was the scope of the investigation. And I really feel like discussing the inappropriate conduct at a convention with fans. I really feel like discussing it, but I'm not going to yet. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be a tease. I'm really trying to give the benefit of the doubt here because I don't see an actual affidavit from the 2 fans involved. I don't see anything from the 2 fans involved, so I am still not telling that story. But what do we have? We have Rial. We have Rial complaining about someone else, and somehow them being made known about 2 fans. We actually don't know if those 2 fans made a complaint themselves to Funimation because it isn't actually stated anywhere that they did. We don't know who made that complaint. Maybe they did. I'm not going to suggest that they didn't. They were apparently interviewed by Tammy Denbo. We don't know if that interview accused Vic of anything. And when you understand the context of the story, I hate being that guy, but when you understand the context of that story, you'll finally, again, when something triggers and I can tell that story, I will, but I just don't think it's appropriate. I really don't. All right. But again, 2 potential witnesses on January 22nd. Who are they? What did they witness? What did they witness to? What did they say? Then interviewed Monica Rial via telephone. We know what Monica said about inappropriate conduct that she alleged was directed to her by Mr. Mignogna. Inappropriate conduct directed at her by Mr. Mignogna is him eating a jelly bean. I kid you not. Unless Tammy didn't ask Vic about the other stuff. But is that an investigation? And they're going to have a hard time because they're going to have to prove this investigation occurred. I think this doesn't actually state what steps were taken in the investigation. And they may have to produce it because that might be relevant to the TCPA. I mean, I would argue it's definitely relevant to the TCPA. A more detailed report of the investigation absolutely matters. Based on my interviews, I concluded that the allegations of inappropriate conduct made against Mr. Mignogna were credible. Notice what she doesn't say. I did not conclude that he engaged in sexual harassment or sexual assault. Just that the allegations of inappropriate conduct were credible. Not even that they occurred. Just that they were credible allegations of inappropriate conduct. What does that mean? It means nothing. I reported the same to Sony Pictures HR to be communicated to Funimation. There you go. Exhibit C, affidavit of Scott Barretto. Before me, blah, blah, blah. Scott Barretto, over 18. Yeah. I'm senior director of PR at Funimation Productions LLC, which position I've held since September of 2018. I have provided public relations related services to Funimation since 2015. As senior director of public relations at Funimation, I am familiar with Funimation's media and social media related activities, and I monitor media and social media posts related to Funimation. Funimation is an entertainment company that specializes in the dubbing and distribution, blah, blah, Dragon Ball. Vic Mignogna, Dragon Ball, same stuff. Allegations of misconduct against Mr. Mignogna began to receive media and social media attention in January 2019. That's interesting. Why is that interesting? Why is this interesting, guys? Can you tell me why it might have been weird for Funimation to include an affidavit that social media and media attention began in 2019 of January. Because Funimation, with the guy who monitors stuff related to Funimation, does not have 10 years of media or social media activity. He just has January. Part of all these people's arguments is that this has been going on for a decade. It got media and social media attention in January 2019, not in 2010, not in 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, but in January of 2019. That's in Funimation's director of social media and PR. That's his affidavit. So, I don't know if that's an oops, but I would point towards that. If I were writing this, again, I would say they've just completely disacknowledged the idea that Vic was, that this stuff has been bubbling around since 2010. He said January 2019, and it's his actual flipping job to know. And the first he's ever seen of it, January. Nova Zero says, hey, Nick, what if it's a credible claim because Monica is an agent? That's interesting, isn't it? Isn't it interesting if they employed an agent of Funimation, Tammy Denbo, to collude with Monica Rial as another agent of Funimation? That would be vicarious liability. And if not, then it could be conspiracy. So there you go. All right. With the publication of articles by Anime News Network and Polygon.com, as well as tweets and social media posts from members of the anime community. During the same time and through today, supporters of Mr. Mignogna, many of whom adopted the hashtag #IStandWithVic, threatened and harassed members of the anime community and others who supported the women who alleged misconduct by Mr. Mignogna, who used the hashtag #KickVic. And it happened the other way too, you lying piece of shit. You know it did. You know it did. By late January, Funimation had received inquiries on social media and from the media whether Funimation intended to take any action or make any statement with respect to Mr. Mignogna. Due to the continued publicity surrounding Vic, including the allegations against him about inappropriate treatment of women, Funimation decided to issue a short statement via Twitter regarding its decision to end its relationship with Mignogna, which Funimation did on February 11th, 2019. Travis the Bard says, wouldn't it be better to solve the world's problems with Mortal Kombat as Mortal Kombat theme plays in the background? Yes. So, again, according to their social media director, who must be responsible for the tweet, even though he doesn't actually say it, he admits that it's in the context specifically of inappropriate treatment of women. And then he's going to go on and say that the investigation line has no inference to it, even though he just literally sets the stage that way. Funimation decided to issue a short statement via Twitter, which it did on February 11th, 2019. True and correct copy of Funimation's tweet is attached to Funimation's TCPA motion. The purpose of the first tweet on February 11th was to inform the anime public of Funimation's decision to end its relationship with Mr. Mignogna. Here's the thing. It's a reasonable person standard on substantial truth. Okay? Substantial truth in defamatory publications. Whereas, does the whole publication, taken in totality of the circumstances, lead a reasonable person to conclude a defamatory action or defamatory statement or meaning of the entire published work? Okay, so Funimation's little 3-part text or tweet is going to be considered an entire public work and considered in the totality of the circumstances, which they are acknowledging includes a specific inference of inappropriate treatment of women. And then they're going to say, following an investigation, Vic Mignogna was terminated, and that investigation, would a reasonable person conclude that that investigation included allegations of sexual harassment and assault? Oh, I only think everyone assumed that. Only everyone, though. Only all of the people involved assumed that that's what it was, and your not employees maintained that that's what it was for months. And you're only now coming out and saying the opposite. This is baffling, Funimation. But let it be known. Let it be known to everybody that Funimation in no way, because they're stating it here under oath, Funimation in no way is suggesting that Vic Mignogna engaged in sexual harassment or sexual assault of women. Let that be sung from the rooftops. That's what they're claiming. No matter that, everyone assumed the opposite. Let's read on, shall we? Purpose of the first tweet was to inform the anime public of Funimation's decision to end its relationship with Mr. Mignogna. At the same time, and in the same Twitter thread, Funimation added the following sentence to its tweet. Part of our core mission is to celebrate the diversity of the anime community and share our love for the genre and to support its positive impact on all. We do not condone any kind of harassment or threatening behavior being directed at anyone. The purpose of this additional tweet was to respond to the continued heated back and forth among anime fans about Mr. Mignogna was an effort to encourage civility in the anime community. Funimation nowhere stated or implied in any of its tweets that Mr. Mignogna had engaged in any harassment or intimidation, sexual or otherwise. There it is. There it is. We did not fire Vic for sexual harassment, intimidation, for harassment, intimidation, sexual harassment, or sexual intimidation or otherwise. Period. They didn't do it. And everyone should know that, right? That's according to Funimation. Funimation's February 11th tweets were truthful. I am aware that an investigation of Mr. Mignogna was conducted, that Funimation recast him in Morose Mononoke 2, and that Funimation will not be engaging Mr. Mignogna in future productions. In addition, part of Funimation's core mission is to celebrate the diversity of the anime community and to share its love for the genre and positive impact on all. As stated in Funimation's February 11th tweet, further, Funimation does not condone any kind of harassment or threatening behavior directed at anyone. No statement by Funimation's February 11th tweets is intended to defame Mr. Mignogna in any way, nor do the statements imply that Mr. Mignogna engaged in any harassing or threatening behavior. Funimation has not made any other public statement about Mr. Mignogna since its tweets on February 11th, 2019. Michelle Marie says, I'd ask if Tammy Denbo interviewed the twins that Ron stated in that alleged text to Kamea-kan that lived with him, who he stated was coming forward. She did. Those are the two fans. 99% sure that's who it is. No 2Ann says, I remember when those yaoi idiots tried to start a petition to kick Vic from the free anime years ago because they were afraid he wouldn't sign their yaoi. Yep. And the outside in says, it makes me nervous that these people might reproduce and there will be smaller versions of them running around. Here we go. True and correct copies of the following exhibits are attached to Funimation's TCPA motion. Mignogna's 2019 tweet, Polygon's January 25th article, Anime News Network's January 30th article, February 4th article, February 5th article. Is it the originals? Polygon's February 5th article, February 8th tweet from Vic, Anime News Network, Funimation. So here's where, remember what I said about all of the stuff, right? This is what's filling out the pages. We're on page 33 and it goes to 168. So here we go. Exhibit D. Here's the tweet from Vic. Man, it's nice that they included this. It's really nice that they include this. I heard about these accusations. I knew it just wasn't true. Found you when I was 14, going through my first year of high school. Here we go. Oh, look, they went ahead and included this. Casey Harwood, there's a photo also going around. Vic gave me a kiss on the cheek, and they are falsely stating I was 20 years of age in 2012. I'm only 21 now. This particular photo was taken in Manchester at a Rise and Bull Ranger dinner that I set up. my mother was present at, along with other parents. I requested these photos myself and my mom's and Vic's with my mom's and Vic's consent. I do not want to be involved in any negativity towards Vic and cause him any distress or bad press. Vic is a genuinely nice man who I admire and looked up to for many years. In no way have I got anything to do with the negativity towards Vic or the allegations. Seeing this has distressed me tonight. Wanted to set the record straight. Keep your head up, Vic, and try to rise above it. Casey Harwood. Let's see. Polygon article. Let's see. One of these things had that Casey Harwood photo, didn't it? That's that one. I think they removed it, so we'll have to find the actual original of the article, because I'm pretty sure they went ahead and removed that. They redacted it or changed it, but I'm pretty sure that the archive of that exists. Here we go. But anyway, so these are the exhibits we're talking about. It's just Vic articles, right? Here's the threat stuff. He didn't do anything that would have made me feel uncomfortable. It's weird that they chose to include this in this way. Because some of those tweets are going to look really good for Vic. Here's Funimation's thing. Falsified version was in the A&N article. They don't have the original in here then, so we'll have to find it. Find the internet archive of it. I know it exists. I just don't know where it is. Here we go. Here's Monica. There were multiple investigations with testimony, proof, evidence. Companies don't cut ties without those things. However, that information is classified. I'm one of dozens of men and women who participated. Stop harassing me. In Funimation's own tweet, in their own thread, they provided it as evidence on the same day. On the same day. Thanks for the tweet. I've screenshot it and sent it to my attorney and law enforcement. That wasn't true either. But anyway, you guys have seen this stuff, right? What's interesting about this is, of course, not that you've seen it, but that they chose to include some of it. Why would you include Monica's statement in there? Jamie Markey's statement. Notice Jamie Markey's statement was never investigated by Funimation or Sony. Here's Vic's statement. People making allegations towards you are coming across as cruel, puerile, and even some tweets downright evil. Oh, man. Look at this. Look at this one. Oh, my goodness. I've never seen this. What? What were you thinking, you dummy? Oh, my God. Oh, wait, no. Sorry. I jumped the gun. This is August 2015, and this is probably made with as a joke. Maybe. But I didn't read the dates at first. This is 2015. I thought this was... God. Let's see. I want his head, I want his balls, I want him to feel an ounce of the pain he's caused and choke on it. Yeah. Okay. Man, I thought that statement was made. I was like, I hadn't seen that statement. I thought it was made recently. I was like, oh my God, that would have been hilarious. Seeking help. Oh, here's that IO9 article. Solid reporting from IO9. police report. Here they included the fake swatting by Inuhart. Oh my gosh. Oh no. Oh my goodness. Oh, they're gonna have to look into that completely fake report. Let's see, what else do we have here? Anime voice actor accused of sexual harassment. Here's the Kamea-con. Multiple voice actors cancel Kamea-con appearances amid Vic controversy. By the way, that can be used to show malice too. Wait a minute. No, guys. Somebody from the lawsuit help me out. This isn't. That's not her, is it? That's not Metal Jess. Right? That's not Metal Jess. Please, someone confirm that that's not Metal Jess for my own sanity. Here's the Newsweek article. Here's the Polygon article. Again, these are later articles. Here we go. Here's Vic's IMDb page where they're gonna look at how many things he's in. He's definitely a public figure. If you guys don't realize how funny it would be for Metal Jess to be on an Ashley Madison ad, then you just haven't been following this channel long enough, and I'll implore you to go find out. I know it's an ad. It's an ad for Ashley Madison, which is the cheating website. But that sure looked like Metal Jess. That sure looked like Metal Jess. All right, guys, that's the full document. Of course, I'm not gonna go through all of the, whatchamacallit. All of the articles. You can go find all of them. They're there. I scrolled through them so you can really, if you really want to look, you can go frame by frame through the video and find all of that information. I don't mean to put that on you, but it's just not worth reading 100 pages of bad reporting. It's just not there. Okay, let's address the super chats and we'll call it a night. Tomorrow is going to be me. It's going to be all about me, of course. Of course. Thank you all. If you're going to leave now, I know a lot of people do leave for the super chats, the final reading of them or whatever, and that's fine. Thank you for joining me. Please join tomorrow. It should be a pretty interesting show, depending on what kind of mood I'm in. Might be a little spicy, might not. Final thoughts on the TCPA. Of course they were going to file a TCPA. It's likely that Marky and Rial and Toye will file their TCPAs as well sometime in the very near future. This is the obvious move that Beard, Harris, Bullock, and Hughes prepared. It was the first thing they said, right? What are they likely to do? TCPA, motion to dismiss, of course. It was the first thing that they were likely to do. Now the surprise is that they've waited this long and waded through some depositions and some discovery that they didn't have to do. And that discovery includes that email from Monica that I had on screen right here, which casts some doubt. And believe me, there's other stuff in there that's really interesting and important. Cast some doubt on old Tammy's investigation there. Cast some doubt on Ron's claims that 4 women are coming forward, right? I mean, Ron flat out makes a factual statement. These women are coming forward. That woman, Monica, contradicts Ron in that email. That's why she doesn't want to say anything now. Even if we take that statement as true, Ron made a false statement of fact to Kamea-con about an investigation involving Vic Mignogna. He made a false statement, period, because 4 women didn't come forward. According to Monica, it was at most 3, and it may have been 1. we don't actually know yet. We don't actually know yet because it doesn't say. But we do know that Ron definitely made a false statement of fact. 3 is not 4. And he presumably would have been getting his information from Monica. 3 is not 4. We also know that Monica Rial made a false statement of fact about the investigation in her response to Funimation's tweet. We know it. It's right there. She knows, or she can't know, or she does know and is told a lie about how many people were coming forward. It's frankly not true. Dozens of men and women. Well, or 5, right? 2 potential witnesses, 1 Monica Rial, 2 fans. 5 people is not dozens of men and women. And who knows who the other 2 even are? Who knows what anybody said? Who knows why she determined them to be credible allegations? We have no idea. Tammy Denbo very likely could have been in on it. Especially because, according to what we know about the stories, they just don't add up to a company making an employment decision based on those things. So anyway, they could win on this TCPA though. They absolutely could. TCPA is tough. TCPA is broad. Ty has to make a prima facie case, including clear and specific evidence. I think that clear and specific evidence exists in Funimation's filings and in other discovery. I think it does. I think if they filed this right away, right at the beginning, maybe they could have won the TCPA a lot easier. Now they've got much more of a hurdle. We'll see what the judge thinks. We'll see if Tarrant County judges like TCPA motions. I don't know. And we'll see what, most importantly, Beard, Harris, Bullock, and Hughes can come up with. It's not up to me. It's up to them. So they'll have to do that. All right, y'all. So if you are going to peace out now, peace out. I'm going to go ahead and read the rest of these super chats. And then I might do some Twitch. I'll decide in just a little bit. The Sock Monster says, it's interesting that they include Monica's tweets there. Sounds like they're about to throw her A under the bus. If so, it could not have happened to a nicer person. Yeah, they want to. Funimation is in no way suggesting that Monica and Toye and Marky are off the hook. Just Funimation. They have cut them loose. It's pretty clear. Travis the Bard says, did Funimation do an oopsie? Guess we can call them Funimation with all the funny business. Wouldn't want to work there even if I'm desperate. There you go. We'll see. We'll see. Okay. Kay says, nice Hitler Youth haircut. It suits you perfectly, you literal Nazi. Thank you for your concern. I appreciate it. Mercenary says, Nick, YouTube keeps forcing ads that I can't skip on you at the start of every stream. Now and last night I got hit with some kind of mid-roll ad in the middle of your stream. Are you letting ads on or is YouTube being a jerk? It's up to YouTube, man. I can't put ads anywhere during a stream. So sorry if they're doing that, but that's what they do. Neil Purcell says, Nick's deposition is to determine once and for all if he's actually beaten Battletoads. I have. Don't fight me just because I can't do it right now. Thupper Dupper Steve says, screw this crap. Talk about Dick Masterson reaching out to you about Road Rage in Minnesota. Yeah, Road Rage Minnesota. We're working out a date in mid-August. It should be a big show. It should be a fun show. Maybe a little different than other Road Rages because we might be trying to do something a little more constant drinking with it. But yes, stay tuned. As soon as I know, I will be announcing it. That should be a lot of fun. I've been waiting for Road Rage Minnesota, and now is a great time for it. Kay said, in an alternate world, Rick Nikita is spending every night live streaming in order to explain how Vic Mignogna has absolutely no chance in his lawsuit against Funimation and Veronica. Then he goes to sleep and cries into his pillow. Short Round says, boss, I got the computers loaded up in the boat so we can go look for the guns. Watching them want to depose you is worse than someone getting their front teeth clipped with a nail clippers. Also, Monica's mall cop boomer friends are boomer LARPing. Yeah. There's emails about that boomer too. Tess Not on Holiday says, I think T. Greg is your rival. You have hair and he doesn't. You have a beard and he doesn't. He's from Virginia and you have 5 kids. You can breathe. Just in general, he needed to crowdfund a CPAP machine. You're the exact opposite of him. Well, there we go. Henry Aller says, update from yesterday. Dad made it out of surgery all right. He had about a 20% chance of survival. Thank everyone for the thoughts and prayers. God is great. Oh, man, that's great. Great news. Henry Aller says, on another note, what's your favorite Bible verse? Not to be lame, but mine is Psalm 144, King James Version, Uber Ales, and JNT is the most amusing Bible translation. I don't have a favorite Bible verse. I really don't. My favorite story is Esther, especially when Xerxes leaves the room and that guy stumbles and his face lands right in Esther's crotch. And Xerxes comes back in and has him executed for it. That's great. Mercenary says, it is like Vic is being used by God and all these sociopaths are like demons lashing out at his light. I'm not making light of this. Vic is like a pastor during an exorcism and the industry is the possessed. Rial and the SJWs are the demon possessors. Unknown Watcher says, hold the info for now. Let's see what else they let slip. Schwazoom says, the accusers are credible. Nothing like using the exact same language as is used by the media against Kavanaugh to convince a Texas judge and later jury. Yeah, that'll go well for them in Tarrant County, I bet. Very Republican Tarrant County. Schwazoom says, the evil aggressive hashtag I stand with Vic, were harassing and attacking the totally not offensive or aggressive hashtag called hashtag kick Vic credible. Schwazoom says, we carried out an investigation and believe the people who claimed he harassed women. We never claimed that Vic harassed anyone. We just fired him because reasons. How can this claim be credible when it's contradicted in its own motions? They'll have to explain that, not me. Schwazoom says, it's nice of Funimation to provide all the ammunition for BHBH that they might have forgotten or considered too ancillary to add. Very good odds, in my opinion, that they're doing this so they don't have to turn over their internal emails now Vic has been deposed. Oh, yeah. That's why it came now. I mean, the TCPA was coming, but it came 2 days before their discovery deadline just to avoid producing the stuff that was requested of them 50 days ago. Where Tiger Ray says, if the investigation was improperly done or confidentiality was breached, what recourse would Vic have? What would you think of a stream going over that white paper that dictates how internal investigation should be done? It's all an argument. That white paper isn't authoritative. It is a guideline, though. So we'll see. Maybe. Marty Lund says, Funimation's TCPA strategy, exonerate Vic of sexual harassment and assault allegations, throw kick Vic under the bus as liars. Who is taking screenshots for Funimation with targeted AdSense for Ashley Madison? We're totally credible and trustworthy. Yeah, that's true. That Ashley Madison ad was targeted to whoever was taking the screenshots for Funimation. That's kind of embarrassing. TLJ Screwjob says, so what if Mr. Chup doesn't see the dozens of men and women tweet in Funny's thread, or the women defending Vic because he's tired, or F this weeb stuff, or some other random thing? Is stuff like that why a hearing happens, so other parties can point it out? Yeah. And Ty gets to make a responsive motion to the response to this motion, opposed to it. Diablo says, hey, Nikki. Oh, here. We don't need this on stream anymore. Hey, Nikki. I can't make the stream tonight, so I'm just sending some love your way. Any plans for the 4th? Yeah. I got plans for the 4th. Take my kids to go do some fun stuff. Dale says, will the next stream be filmed in a prison visitation room with you on the phone in an orange jumpsuit and Hannibal Lecter mask? DCV Titan says, Nick, you boomered so hard you took out the last stream. What gives? Also something Mars Girl related. It's coming back. Like I said, it's coming back. Hopefully it's done processing soon or tomorrow morning at the latest. Talents here says, stop fixing the camera. Your hair isn't important. No, but it's weird being up here. That's weird. Blink Your Eyes 1400 says, I got a job interview Monday. Wish me luck. Good luck, buddy. JG says, I got jelly beans. Yethna P says, Nick, is that a Neo Nordsee haircut? Hose mad times 500. Freighter J says, screw the plan. CC Ria says, I expect you to call out. Did you guys, I hope you guys caught the reference on the plan. That they've made a stupid plan and they're not adapting their strategy. They're just sticking with it. Despite it going wrong for them all over the place. CC Ria says, I expect you to call out Ron at least 200 times in the stream so he has to pay Casey to hear it. Ron, you're a cuck. Talbot Links says, never plan, only villains in Hannibal plan because they love it when a plan comes together. Gross. Matthew Needig says, press 1 to say F the plan, talk about Depo. Well, that wasn't going to happen tonight. Andrew War Snowbird says, Navy SEAL found not guilty. That's great news. And brilliant maneuver by the combat medic who took the fall for it under immunity. Itchicinco says, I still want my answer from last night, Nick. Why is the only UFC fighter you follow Nick Lentz? You looked up the wrong account on Twitter. I did look up the wrong account on Twitter. I don't know why I follow Nick Lentz. I don't remember. He must have said something funny. Whatever 7798 says, take my free money, you BA. Thanks, buddy. Solo Beverly says, these cucks won't ever let you have your chill weeb stream with all this info. They will they? No. John Sargent says, never play poker with rackets. Itchy Jaime 90 says, met Vic over the weekend recently for the first time. He was very humble and kind to me and the people I was with. It's irritating the way the other side would do to spin a negative light on Vic. Shanksy B says, Samantha, any charges for false incident report? That's up to the, that's up to the cops. Joe Carroll says, when you get to the Supermax, ask my man, Honest Jay. He'll take care of you, my man. Sounds good. Rick Nikita says, Sam Hyde told me that you can't keep getting away with it. Chris John says, putting an APB out for a random Minnesota lawyer. No one important says, so how many lawyers does it take for Veronica to screw in a light bulb? More than 3, since all of them are too busy holding L's for them. JG says, Casey is a super bird law lawyer. Solo Beverly says, you are loving this Depo thing. It's annoying. It's annoying to me, but it's so stupid of them that I don't know what else to do with it. No one important says, really hoping Funimation turns on them and buries all their careers. Well, we'll see. Timothy Reaper says, what are your plans for the 4th of July, aka Sweaty Sausage Day? Again, I'm going to take my kids and family and we're going to go out and have just a nice time. We do every 4th. Kyle Rambler says, go get them. Screw the soy team till they Savvy McStabswood says, what? Over 9,000? SY says, KV lawyers think that Moron will win the TCPA and their homeowner's insurance will cover part or a large personal lawsuit. Is this possible? I mean, it's possible to get your homeowner's insurance to do it, but I'd have to really read up on that. That's a pretty specific question. And homeowner's insurance doesn't usually cover intentionally tortious acts. Dracula Garfunkel says, Rekieta, what did you say about the GoFundMe shares? Share it. If you can't donate to it, just share it. It's helpful. Sharu says, I just finished watching Gamers raise $3 million for charity over a single week. Never underestimate the generosity of nerds. Let's hit 200,000 on the GoFundMe. Critical says, this is not my first super chat. Hey, thank you. Thank you. Andrew War Snowboard says, Road Rage Minnesota is happening. My cement truck is ready. Cesario JPN says, I say make the deposition an event. Arrange it to be a live stream and during breaks. Answer viewer super chats. Make us all part of the legal process. Lane 32 James says, you just make me think of Ace Ventura saying, man, I'm tired of always being right. No one important says, money towards that ASMR and evil laugh, golden. Cody Paw says, time to pay my fee for being gay and late. Mike Gilbert says, dang, Nick, you write that creepy pasta yourself? I did. Anthony Siebert says, I love how they suck at getting a hold of you. Nullus Specialis says, how do you feel about Woodford Bourbon? I like Woodford Reserve. Simulated Internet Friend says, the Kick Vic playbook is basically tattling, and more tattling. The country needs an Apollo-style program to revive the ancient and heroic art of bullying. Stoked Gamer says, love how these losers think you care. David Hesse says, hey and Nick, it's my birthday today, so I went and saw the new Spider-Man movie. Anyway, here's a little something from me to you. Keep up the good fight, brother. Hey, happy birthday. Happy birthday. DCV Titan says, does anybody even know or care who this Crick Wankstain is? No. No. The Outside In says, tried to send it earlier. It didn't include the punchline for some reason. What sound does a cocky chicken that can't actually back anything up make? Cock-a-doodle-doo. Sardonian says, note the date of Kamea context versus investigation. Yep. Yellow Flash 2 says, Anime News Network is broke. Good. Basement Troll Production says, formerly Enigma 1788 on YouTube here. Looked over docs, funny cited ANN, but lists a tweet chain in Exhibit D that includes the girl who called ANN out on misrepresenting her pick by lying. How embarrassing. Yep. Thank you for noticing that. Squally, thanks for the donation. Guami says, I could be wrong, but with Funny's tweets 1 minute apart, I'd say they were split in a thread only because of character limits and no other reason. I mean, now you're just splitting hairs. Now you're just splitting hairs there. No one important says, double standards the game, funny version. Jake CB says, is every news outlet and individual mentioned by Funimation in this lawsuit now deposable? Potentially. They already were, though. Moist John says, remember the 6 million women Vic assaulted? Michael LaValle says, if Funimation succeeds at their TCPA, does the case go on with against the remaining defendants? Yes. Funimation's TCPA is only in relation to Funimation. Lane 20 says, be sure to inform BHBH that they can prove conspiracy to prove malice and defeat all TCPAs since they don't know how to do defamation suits and all. Lane 20 says, Navy SEAL Eddie Gallagher found not guilty of murder and a bunch of other charges, found guilty of inappropriate photo of corpse. Oh, that's the worst. Boag says, any opinions on the Andy Can Go legal fund? No opinion. Good job. Crowdfunding lawsuits. It's going to become a thing. E-Man to Manny says, hey, Nick, could that one picture be used against Funimation that said they were from the HR investigation? The only thing in the file was Kick Vic. What? The one of Dominique Sky? The one of that Jamie Markey and Monica Rial liked? The one perpetuating the idea that they were all acting as agents of Funimation? I would use it. I absolutely would. Oh, and all of the responses to it where people thought that they were serious. I would use all of that. Tyler Hansen says, if they don't control their contractors' Twitter activities, why do they hire someone to monitor Funimation-related stuff on Twitter? That's a good question. Talbot Link says, oh, the tangled webs we weave when at first we try to deceive the courts. Fluffy Side Up says, would the fact that Monica lied about how many investigations and how many people came forward count as actual malice in the legal sense? It's evidence of it, right? It's evidence of it. Automata says, if you want to note something funny, look at the appendix and exactly how many of them are A&N articles. Wouldn't it be a shame if those A&N articles listed Funimation as their source on some of this stuff? I think they might. Shane Gossman says, to be fair, dozens of men and women, quote, specified that that was the number involved in the investigation, not the number of victims. Well, the number involved in the investigation was nowhere near a dozen. Even if you count Vic and the investigators, the most charitable number you can come up with is 8. Carrie Dalton says, didn't a pre-Sony Funny investigation clear Vic? I don't know. They mentioned that. They've mentioned this before. It's not mentioned anywhere else. Mr. DJ Flyeye says, sorry for being a nervous wreck, but after looking at Shane, his boot cuck squad doing victory laps on Twitter today, this might sound stupid. So when does the judge look at that paperwork? Judge has 60 days to rule on a TCPA, unless it's extended for good cause, like a discovery or something like that. No one important says, Ron, 3 equals 4 equals dozens equals 100. Send this man back to school. Devil Hunter Nero. Yeah, he's doing math like a lawyer. Devil Hunter Nero says, how long does BHBH have to answer the surprise TCPA? It's a while. It's a while. I don't know the exact answer, but the judge has to rule on the TCPA within 60 days. They probably have some time. I would expect to see a filing maybe next week on it. We'll see. We'll see. You know, the 4th is coming up tomorrow or the next day, depending on what day it is for you. So we'll have to see how soon they respond. Targus says, I'm not worried about Ron having children. Any child he claims as his is really the bull's. Cypher Warrior says, never forget, Mars Girl's arms are so long when she claps, her hands extend across the multiverse. Mars Girl's arms are so long they get lost in space. Ichisinko says, you missed the over 9,000 reference with GoFundMe shares. Oh, yes. Yes, thank you. Link says, someone needs to combine the WW2 ASMR with Nick's laugh bliss. And then finally, we've got a couple more. Here we go. Kellen Miller says, hey, Nikki, Vic totally has no chance. You can't make fun of people on the internet, Nikki. Literal insane person laugh that goes on way too long. Hated 7 Days to Die says, I get the proposed order to dismiss the case isn't signed. Why would they produce the document when a motion and hearing are happening first? You almost always, if you want the court to order in a certain way, you provide the proposed order, period. You just do. That's just standard procedure. It means nothing. It's just a convenient document that the court can sign if they want to go ahead and grant you everything you ask for. And then finally, Schwazum says, Ron, everyone is just chomping to reveal all of our information in court. Beard, okay, here's your chance, champ. Moronica, oh, we can't because reasons. Funimation files TCPA. Okay, then. Well, I mean, if this case is about making specific lies, not about them being liars. They do seem to lie quite often. So if it was only about them lying a lot, I mean, that would be easy. It's harder because it's about specific lies. Okay, let me hit this outro. Start this outro up. Oh no. Oh no. It's a little too loud. It's picking up on my mic. There we go. So there's the intro, or the outro. So we're going to end the stream now. I'm going to grab a snack. I'm going to go to Twitch because I'm trying to get to Twitch partner. I don't know why. I'm an affiliate trying to get to the partner program, and I just have to basically stream a couple days over the next week or so. So I want to get an hour or two in where I can. Been playing Chaos Bane. I think I'll stick with that. I will be available to answer any questions that you have. Sometimes they're easier to ask on Twitch because there's not so many people. It's very laid back. But if I get focused in the game, I make no warranties, promises, or other representations. Let's read these last super chats that came in. Nova Zero says, an aunt passed away this week and I lacked the leave to take the time off. It was the worst way to start the week. Thanks for providing entertainment, Nick. It helps keep the mood up. Thanks. Hey, you're welcome, man. My condolences to your aunt. To your family about your aunt. How's that? That's what I meant. Hildeo the Horse, thanks for the donation. And Goru says, if that investigation involves only people with a possible conflict of interest plus Vic, how credible is it to use it to back a statement of fact? Oh, I don't know. That's not up to me. That's up to the finder of fact, right? And what they find probative. Hated 7 Days to Die says, oh, so the party filing the TCPA provides it. I didn't know that. Thank you. Usually, if you're filing an motion or an opposition to motion, you'll provide a proposed order. They don't mean anything, and the court still has to actually sign them and issue the order. All right, guys. Peace. Please come visit me at twitch.tv/Rekieta Law. I will tweet out the link, but you can go pop over there now. I'll see y'all in just a little bit. Just gonna eat. Well, grab some food, because I always eat on a Twitch stream. Have a good night. See you tomorrow. Peace. Peace.
Get unemployed, so pour out a glass for the tea. Post on Twitter as we hear lawsplaining tonight. From the white shores of Nan to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now.